before. Now, while that can't happen until July 6th, the Salt Lake City Summer League begins July 5th. So this Saturday, it's a very small summer league. There's only, I think, 4 teams, but Memphis is always involved in that. And then everybody goes to Vegas July 10th through the 20th. I have a feeling, although I'm not for certain yet, that he's got a baby on the way. Drew Hill, who I saw last year at Summer League. I was out there for a little bit. Drew Hill from the Daily Memphian, the lead Grizzlies reporter. He'll join us at 8:05 with the latest on all the moves the Grizz have made and moves that potentially are coming down the pike, and we'll talk about that in just a few moments. Then from 9 to 10, Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal is going to join me in studio. He covers the Grizzlies. He also covers Memphis Tigers football and other things for the CA, so we'll talk to him about a number of different things. As I said, it was an interesting weekend in Major League Baseball. We've hit the halfway mark. There were some standout performances. The Cardinals sweeping the Guardians, outscoring them 21-6. We got news from college football, including a starting quarterback from the Big 12 who is going to be leaving his school because of dubious reasons. We'll get to that. We lost a legend in baseball and a legend in horse racing over the weekend. We'll give you all the details about that. There is an NBA player who is under investigation for allegations of gambling related to NBA games and prop bets. So, yeah, even though a little bit slow, there's still a lot to talk about. NBA free agency begins tonight, as I mentioned. So what are the Grizzlies' priorities? Well, here's what is going on with the Grizzlies. They have projected room of $5 million. They will be hard capped at the first apron. So there's not a lot of money right now, per se. That money is expected to go towards an extension with Jaren Jackson Jr. That is, it seems like, priority number one. They also need to create additional cap for Tripp. And although he doesn't qualify for the Supermax, he still qualifies for a hefty extension and more years on that deal. And that's what they would like to have done while he's under contract going into this 25-26 season. So to create additional cap, there is going to be some moves that will be made. Now, not only are they going to shed salary for that, but they're also going to deal with Santi Aldama, which has nothing to do with the negotiations for Jaren Jackson Jr. So they're okay to negotiate with their own guy. They did tender a 1-year, $5.94 million qualifying offer to Santi. He's going to get paid much more than that. But they had to do that because if they didn't, then he becomes an unrestricted free agent. He is a restricted free agent, meaning the Grizzlies can match. I don't know how high they plan to go, but again, according to Zach Kleiman, they want to keep Santi Aldama. I think Santi's a valuable player. I just think he's a liability defensively. Not that he doesn't crash the boards and do a good job in altering shots with his size. He's just slow. He's not quick with his feet, and guys go around him. But he's valuable because he's a shooter. We've seen games where he's gone off with that three-point shot. And right now you look at that roster, and they're limited on that outside three-point shooting. Even with the addition of KCP, which you hope he gets back to his old form, they certainly could use Santi's three-point ability, his offensive ability, but he needs to improve as a defensive player, a man-to-man defensive performer. Now, they have an $8.8 million room exception. So not sure what the game plan is with that, but we do know, again, shooting, but also the center situation with Zach Edey and the uncertainty as he rehabs in the offseason. It is not expected that he's going to miss tons of time once the season begins, but nobody knows at this point. So you have to be ready because you don't have enough up front. If Jay Huff's still on the team, you got Jay Huff, again, more of an offensive center, not a defensive center, although his size helps. Brandon Clark coming off, again, a second straight injury. Presumably your starting center going into the season with Edey presumably out. But again, that could change. Tripp is, again, on defense, a shot blocker and not a rebounder. So you need somebody in there who can gather the boards to help this team in transition basketball. So that's certainly a need. What will they do with Cole Anthony? Are they going to keep him? $20 million that can come off the books that can help facilitate any type of deal and to open up those cash, the cash situation for Jaren Jackson Jr. John Conchar, we've heard his name. Jay Huff, we heard his name. So what will they do as far as that is concerned? They also, according to reports, and these are all according to reports, Grizzlies did not announce this, a two-way qualifying offer to make Cam Spencer a restricted free agent. Cam was a two-way player, rookie last year. So as a restricted free agent, again, if somebody's going to go after Cam, Memphis can match. Do they plan on doing that? Do they plan on putting him on the 15-man? Do they want to bring him back as a two-way guy? These are questions that Drew Hill may have answers to when he joins us. They did not tender a qualifying offer to Yuki Kawamura. So the fun of Yuki last year was short-lived. He will not be back. And that's pretty much it right now. But again, things are going to heat up possibly as early as today. On Friday, the three rooks were introduced. Cedric Coward, we know that Memphis traded up from 16 to 11 with Portland to get him. Javon Small out of West Virginia. And Jemai Meshack, the last pick in the draft. I was not able to go Friday night, but read a lot of the excerpts from the press conference with what these players had to say. Seemed like the local media was impressed with their knowledge of the history of the Grizzlies, Coward, and maybe others talking about, but I know Coward did, grit and grind and the history. Meshack saying, look, I know people doubt my ability offensively, but I feel my shooting is underrated. It's an underrated part of my game. We know that he's a terrific man-to-man defender. Small is a really good offensive player who still plays pretty good defense. Zach Kleiman basically saying that, these are dogs. That we went out and we got dogs. Now, Coward will be on the regular roster. Small more than likely is a two-way guy. Meshack is going to be battling to get one of those two-way positions. And who knows, he may be battling Pullen in the Summer League for that position because Pullen's under contract. However, it is not a guaranteed two-way deal. So, as I mentioned, Summer League is coming up this Saturday in Salt Lake City. So you'll hear additional players that will be on the Summer League roster. And we don't know if Coward will play because he's still coming back from that shoulder. And Zach Kleiman said it was TBA. So we don't know if Coward will go. We know Small will go. We know Meshack will go. Other players I saw on a list, Elijah, with the Grizzlies, I was trying to keep up with free agent signings. And I saw Ace Baldwin out of Penn State, Aaron Estrada, who played in the G League last year. And that's the only two names that I saw as far as new names. Like I said, Small, Meshack. They'll be from last year. I don't know. Jalen Wells coming off an injury, so he's not going to be there. Obviously, Edey's not going to be there. Cam Spencer, I would imagine, will play. So we'll get some more names now because that's not a complete Summer League roster. I've heard some rumors that a former Grizz could be part of that, but we'll see. I won't even mention the name. We'll see if it happens, but a former Grizz may be on that list. It's interesting because there are a lot of former Grizzlies that are sprinkled around the league that are going to be playing in the Summer League. I'll give you an example. David Roddy is on the Houston Rockets Summer League team. Trey Jemison is on the LA Lakers Summer League team. And I believe that's where he played before the Grizzlies ended up getting him, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Then you have a lot of local connections that'll be playing in the Summer League. Naquan Tomlin, who got his opportunity in Cleveland last year, got called up after playing on the G League team. He will be playing for Cleveland's Summer League team. Damian Ball, same deal. Former Tiger who transferred to TCU. He'll be with Charlotte. He got his opportunity to get his feet wet in the NBA last year with Charlotte. Of course, Cam Jones, who was a second-round pick of the Pacers. TJ Madlock, son of former Tiger player and assistant coach Tony Madlock, TJ, will play for Detroit. Lester Quinones, the former Memphis Tiger, who played with Golden State and New Orleans, will play for the Pelicans Summer League team. The Kai Ziegler with Washington. Sean Padula signed an Exhibit 10 with Portland. He'll play for Portland. A couple other former Rebels. Dre Davis will play for Brooklyn in the Summer League. Jordan Gainey of Tennessee will play for Phoenix. Matthew Morrell from Memphis, the former Ole Miss Rebel, he'll play for Utah. We talked about this on Friday. Dane Danger signing with Miami. Musa Cisse got an Exhibit 10 deal with Dallas. So he'll be playing for them. So a lot of familiar names that will get their opportunity. And if it's not the NBA, and for many of them it won't be, they'll have their opportunity to either play in the G League or go back to the G League or play somewhere internationally. Because there are a lot of outlets now for basketball players to carve out a professional career. And there have been for a while, but there's even more opportunities now. More countries that have opened up for better basketball leagues. Because we have had former players on this show over the years to talk about their adventures internationally and how some places are just great. Israel, Australia, China, Turkey, and then there's other countries where they're like, yeah, we're still waiting to get paid. But at least they have those opportunities. There is I retweeted something. I'm trying to see if I can find this. Here it is. This is good. Bobby Marks. I love following Bobby Marks. I would suggest for all you NBA fans to follow him. He explains the difference because some people are confused, and sometimes I am, I'll admit it, between the Exhibit 10 and a regular G League player or even the Summer League and what you make and the two-way players. So here's the difference. Two-way players, 3 per team. Started out just 2. Now there's 3 per team. It's been 3, I think, for a number of years now. Your salary as a two-way player. And I've heard Wolo talk about this, and he's gotten the numbers wrong. But I'm not pointing a finger at him because it is confusing. A two-way player, $636,435. That's their salary. It's over $500,000. That's not chopped liver. 3 years of service or less. 4 years of service if player missed a prior regular season. Understand so far? I know you do. Maximum of 50 games, right, that they can play with the team that they're a two-way player for. Games are prorated if signed during the season, and the deadline to sign a two-way player is March 4th. The Exhibit 10, which would be Musa Cisse signing that Exhibit 10 deal with Dallas. Player signs a 1-year non-guaranteed contract. The salary is the veteran minimum and based on years of service. Do you know what the veteran minimum is?
I think it's $2 million.
There's no way he's making $2 million. That can't be right, can it? Exhibit 10 is below two-way. It's not as much as the two-way. So I don't, that doesn't jive. Here it says the exhibit 10 allows the player to receive an $85,300 bonus if he is on a G League team of the respective waiving team for a period of 60 consecutive days. Like I said, still confusing. So I don't know. There's no way an Exhibit 10 contract is that much money because the Exhibit 10 is below the two-way. You're trying to get a two-way. You're trying to be on the roster. You're trying to be on the 15-man roster. If not, you want to get a two-way, and then the Exhibit 10 comes in after that. So that the money, how much the money is, that's a little bit confusing there. But all these players will have that opportunity. Now, when we come back, we're going to get into NBA free agency. Names that have already been announced, including the latest with LeBron James, plus some NBA trades that went down, and a player under investigation by the U.S. District Attorney's Office. Lots on the NBA. We'll take your calls and texts as always on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. Lawn Solutions, one of our great sponsors, is a locally owned weed control fertilization company that serves the greater Memphis area. Brandon Holly and his team of professionals can take care of your lawn today. Locally owned, family-operated business. You can go online to lawnsolutionsinc.net or call them at 901-867-5626. They'll kill the weeds, get you that green, plush, beautiful lawn, be the envy of your neighborhood. They control the germination of weeds all year long by applying what they call post-emergence during the summer months, and they're even working on your lawn during the winter when the grass is dormant. They're applying pre-emergence during the winter months. They can take care of any disease your lawn has, any insect infestation, grub worms, moles, dandelions, crabgrass, stuff that make your lawn look terrible. Make it look beautiful with Lawn Solutions. 901-867-5626 or online at lawnsolutionsinc.net. Just underway on a Monday. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Everything today is technology-based. Maybe you, if you're struggling to know what kind of make for you, TVs, theaters, cameras, smartphones, and digital storage It's time to turn corners and turn heads in your new Gossett Kia from Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike. Discover peace of mind in your new Kia with Kia's 10-year 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. How about $5 a day in 2025 Kia K4 LXS, $150 a month. 2025 Kia K5 LXS, we Gossett $265 a month. 2025 Sportage $275 a month. And 2025 Kia Telluride S $359 a month. We Gossett covered for every family and every budget at Gossett Kia on the Pike. All $49.99 with signing, 24-month lease. Ask for Bobby J. He's waiting to put you in your new Kia today. Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
In the air, and it's the perfect time to grill, chill, and save with Totes. Install a new generator, tankless water heater, or Carrier HVAC system, and you'll get your choice of a free green egg grill or 36 months, no interest financing. Stay powered during storms. Enjoy endless hot water and slash your cooling costs this summer with the high-efficiency Carrier system. And grill some slow smoke barbecue on us. But hurry, this special ends soon. And if you're dealing with plumbing or electrical problems, Choates is here for you too. Give us a try and take $60 off your repair. Leaky faucet, clogged drain, broken outlet, lights flickering? Call Choates and save $60 on your plumbing or electrical repair service. Call 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com today. And remember, Choates, let our family serve your family.
This traffic brought to you by Raleigh Tire Auto Service, your local family-owned business for over 60 years.
Good morning. Starting to get a little bit heavier on Bill Morris Parkway, coming inbound, passing Hacks Crossroads on 385 all the way to 240. 240 still moving over here at Mill Branch. Midtown traffic has increased just a bit in the last few minutes, especially I-40 coming past Chelsea. Weimer's Jewelry, your diamond engagement ring headquarters this bridal season. Stop by and see them at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 News.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 7:25 the time. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers. Eli is off this week, talking plenty of NBA as free agency begins officially tonight at 5 o'clock Central, although players can't officially sign until July 6th. But we'll know a lot more today, later today. Also, over the weekend, a lot of news that came out, including LeBron James. We'll give you that information in just a second. Before that, though, I did neglect to mention this in the first segment, talking about the presser on Friday night with the Grizzlies Rooks. Tomas Isolo, now the head coach of the Grizzlies, will coach the Summer League team, which I thought was interesting, number one, but I think very important, number two. Even though he's not coaching his regular guys, which he had a chance to after the firing of Taylor Jenkins, but now he gets to get a little more experience as a head coach in the NBA, albeit Summer League, and work with some of these young players. So I think that's really, really cool. Doesn't happen a lot. Usually an assistant coach will run the show, and it's been that way for the Grizzlies for as long as I can remember back. But LeBron James has picked up, no duh, his $52.6 million player option with the Lakers. But Rich Paul, his agent, the CEO of Clutch Sports, says that they are monitoring the Lakers' moves because LeBron wants to compete for a title. So what does that mean? Will he demand a trade if he doesn't feel like they went out and got enough around him? I don't know. And I can't believe that would even happen because Bronny is now part of the Lakers, a two-way player. He'll be back, I'm sure. Was he going to now depart? He had enough of playing with his son. And, of course, there's the talk about wanting to play with Bryce. Do you know what year Bryce is? Is he only a freshman?
He will be a freshman this upcoming season.
I mean, I don't know how long he wants to play for. All I know is LeBron was still incredibly effective this past year. He's still playing at a high level. Nobody criticized Tom Brady. Well, I mean, they criticized him about other things, but not his play on the field as he went all the way up to 45. It's not out of the question. I was thinking maybe this was the swan song, but it may not be. But as far as monitoring the Lakers, can the Lakers now change ownership? Jeannie Buss is still there, but is she a figurehead? I don't think she's necessarily the decision maker right now. Rob Pelinka, of course, is the general manager making the personnel decisions. But I don't see LeBron James going anywhere. I see them trying to add and make it more attractive for this team to be in the race. I mean, right now you're looking at Oklahoma City and the moves that Houston made, and Minnesota, and Denver, and the Clippers, and some others. Hopefully the Grizzlies are part of that. Right now, I wouldn't say they are. But Lakers have to do some stuff. Dorian Finney-Smith has declined his $15.4 million player option, so he enters free agency. So that's interesting as well. And then DeAndre Ayton of the Portland Trailblazers finalizing a buyout with Portland. Of course, he started with Phoenix, and number 1 overall pick, right? Ayton? Yep. Hasn't lived up to the lofty expectations, but it's not a bust by any stretch of the imagination. People got to understand what a bust means. He's still putting up numbers. It's a crowded field in Portland, and this is a guy who makes sense for the Lakers. It makes sense. I don't know off the top of my head where they are as far as the cap is concerned and aprons are concerned, but I do know when LeBron speaks up, usually things happen. So what can they do to add to LeBron and to Luka? Minnesota's wheeling and dealing, and it looks like they're going to be in good shape because they have the money to spend, and Naz Reid's returning, reportedly, 5 years, $125 million, and Julius Randle intends to sign a new 3-year, $100 million deal to stay in Minnesota. So they got their players in tow. Good for Minnesota. James Harden declines his player option, is going to sign a new 2-year, $81.5 million deal to stay in Los Angeles with the Clippers. So most of the guys so far that we've talked about have decided to stay. And look, when you have a player option with that much money on the table, like 52.6 for LeBron, of course you're going to opt in. Others have opted out. Duncan Robinson of Miami declines a $20 million early termination option. He becomes a free agent, but reportedly will work with the team to try to be re-signed. Most of these guys that are pretty big names are going to re-sign with their own team. And that's why there's the somewhat urgency and obviously importance of getting Jaren Jackson Jr. signed by the Grizzlies. There were a couple of trades over the weekend. Chicago Bulls deal Lonzo Ball to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Isaac Okoro, a 3-and-D forward. What's interesting is that the Grizzlies were looking to try to acquire Lonzo Ball last year, and the reported package offer was pretty good. Pretty good, especially compared to Isaac Okoro as your return gift in the Lonzo Ball trade. The Jazz have traded Colin Sexton, according to reports, and a 2030 second-round pick to Charlotte for Yusuf Nurkic. Any of those two trades do anything for you?
I think that Lonzo Ball could be a good Ty Jerome replacement in Cleveland, as Ty Jerome is an unrestricted free agent now. I think that as long as he is healthy and stays on the floor, which of course is a big if, that he could be a guy that sees realistic playoff minutes for that team. He's a very good player still. It's just been the injury concerns for him.
What do you think Ty Jerome can demand on the open market?
Yeah, he's interesting because he was runner-up for Sixth Man of the Year, but he had a terrible playoffs. I see him sitting somewhere between, I think he gets anywhere between 15 and 20 million a year, but I could see maybe even a little higher as well.
Other moves, again, these are all reported out there, not confirmed. The Rockets are signing Jabari Smith to a $122 million extension. Of course, they made the big deal to acquire Kevin Durant. Also, Bobby Portis, who I like Bobby Portis. That's the kind of player I love on the Grizzlies. He signed a $44 million deal to stay with the Bucks. Now, while LeBron and Rich Paul are monitoring the Lakers, Giannis is monitoring the Bucks. And so to have a big piece back is important, especially when you're looking for additional scoring to Giannis with Dame Lillard on the shelf. Doesn't mean that he won't be demanding a trade. Who knows? But right now I'm thinking less and less that he is going to be traded and that he'll be back in Milwaukee. There is just this loyalty that he seems to have. They won a championship together. LeBron, a little bit different. He hasn't been in Los Angeles his entire career. But again, I just don't see anything happening. Because first of all, even though he's attractive to anybody out there, I'm sure, it's a lot of money. You have that kind of money? Are you able to find enough takers of players on your roster to find that money? Again, there certainly would be teams interested, but I just don't see him leaving his son and leaving Los Angeles. But that's something to certainly monitor as the free agency begins. Now, there was also a disturbing story involving Malik Beasley. The U.S. District Attorney's Office is investigating the Pistons guard, who now is, I think he's a free agent, correct? Yeah, he's a free agent, and there's no question Detroit is going to move on. Even though innocent before being proven guilty, right? But in this case, the PR doesn't help. Beasley is accused of a gambling-related situation in 23-24, the season 23-24, when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks, of gambling on NBA games and prop bets. And, of course, that's not allowed. And so this is just another player. Not like there's been this incredible rash of players, but we had the Jonte Porter situation. There was also, who was the other player that they investigated and then they dropped any possible charge? Was it Terry Rozier? It was Terry Rozier, wasn't it? Yeah. So nothing happened with him. But this is certainly worrisome. So not sure what will happen with Beasley. Not sure. Nobody knows right now whether these accusations are true or false. But it doesn't look good right now in the public opinion about gambling on sports. And this was going to happen. It was inevitable that it was going to happen. And while these are professional players, and I know it's a different argument, Eli and I got into it last week about college players and the push now to allow college players to gamble on professional sports and schools, personnel to gamble on. I mean, again, why? Why do it? You're opening up a can of worms. You don't need more of these stories. You really, really don't. All right, we're going to talk a lot more about the NBA free agency period and what the Grizzlies may or may not do. We'll do that at 8:05 when Drew Hill joins us from the Daily Memphian, and more on that in our 9 o'clock hour, among other topics with Jonah Dillon, our friend from the Commercial Appeal. All right, what else is going on? From Major League Baseball, sad news, the passing of the Cobra, Dave Parker, who died at the age of 74 on Saturday. He had been battling Parkinson's. What's even sadder, 1 month away from enshrinement into the Baseball Hall of Fame at Cooperstown. 1 month away. The word was, according to his family, that he was just holding on, hoping to be able to be alive for that moment. And unfortunately, it did not happen. And that's sad. Parker had 2,712 hits, hit 290, 339 as far as his home runs are concerned, nearly 1,500 runs batted in, 7-time All-Star, 2 batting titles, won a World Series with the We Are Family Pirates, and was an MVP. Played for the Pirates, played for the Reds, played for the A's. I remember, and I've told this story before, when I used to cover the Orioles, the Oakland A's were in town, and we had the Bash Brothers with McGuire and Canseco. And so they were a popular tandem, and that was a popular team. But that team also had Dave Parker, older Dave Parker, but still scary Dave Parker. And I don't want to call myself a Cub reporter because I think I had already been in TV for 4 years, but going into the A's locker room, covering the Orioles, I don't even know why. It's probably I just wanted to try to interview McGuire and Canseco. And I went, and the 3 of them are all the way in the back of the locker, and asked McGuire for an interview, declined, looked at Parker. Parker just had this menacing face, like I didn't want anything to do with the Cobra. So I went to Canseco, and Canseco was great. You know, people criticize Canseco all the time, and sometimes it's understandable. But from a personal standpoint, I like him because of that. Did an interview. He was gracious. So I'll always think of that when people want to criticize Jose Canseco. But, yeah, Dave Parker was just one of those guys that was intimidating to look at. And I can only imagine pitchers who are intimidated facing Dave Parker. But, again, sad news that he passes a month before the induction into Cooperstown. He went in with one of the committees, the older committees. I don't know how he didn't get in earlier, but that's when it was a little bit tougher to get in. Now it's not easy, but it's a little bit easier when we've seen some of the names here recently that have gone in. I'll get to some more baseball later because it was a very interesting weekend. What's happening to the Mets, what the Pirates did to them, Shohei Ohtani, the Cardinals sweep of the Guardians. We'll get to that later on. But I mentioned Parker's passing. Another legend, although a different sport, also passed away over the weekend. D. Wayne Lucas died at the age of 89. He had just had a horse. I'm not sure if in all 3 Triple Crown races, but I know in the Preakness he had a horse. D. Wayne Lucas, 15 Triple Crown race wins. 7 of them were the Preakness. He also won 4 times the Santa Anita Derby, 2 times the Florida Derby. You're talking about a legend. As far as horse racing trainers are concerned, he's on the Mount Rushmore. And he was still training horses. I don't know if he was at Saratoga, wherever he was. And then he fell ill, I want to say about a week or 10 days ago, because I saw the story and it said he will not be training anymore. And I thought, okay, he's not doing well, and decided that's it. He's 89 years old, for goodness sakes, and he just stopped training. But obviously it took a turn for the worse. So that's sad. D. Wayne Lucas, 89, Dave Parker, 74, passing away over the weekend. 2 legends in their respective sports. Well, hey, everybody, it's summer. Come get your new and affordable 2026 All-Star Chevy Equinox at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch. Financing down to 6.6% for 72 months. New 25 Silverados with $6,500 cash back. Financing down to 2.9 for 36 months. You can go big, get a new Silverado 2500 HD. Financing as low as 3.9 for 60 months. And not one payment for 90 days because your good credit deserves it. If you work in law enforcement, first responder, healthcare, military, you're a teacher, recent graduate, get an extra $500 bonus on top of all the other great deals. They also have all the certified and pre-owns that you can want. Everything from a beautiful Corvette Stingray to more Tahoes and Silverados than you'll find in one place anywhere. If you have any vehicle you want to sell, bring it to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch and get the most money for it today. Vacation road trips and all your summer fun begin in Olive Branch with our friends at All-Star Chevrolet. So together, let's drive. You can also see all these great vehicles online at allstarautogroup.com. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
ready to crush the competition with your new ride from Gossett Hyundai on the Pike. 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5 SEL front-wheel drive EV, 318 miles on a single charge. We Gossett at just $241 a month. How about 2025 Hyundai Elantra SEL Sport, 39 MPG Highway? We Gossett $297 a month. And 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe XRT all-wheel drive MSRP, $42,180. We Gossett now $37,180 or $469 a month. That's $5,000 off MSRP. And you always get America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. So get to Gossett Hyundai today, 1870 Covington Pike, or visit us online, HyundaiGossett.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
With Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, you can easily find the right home insurance for you, even if it's not with Progressive. But if you don't choose us, then sure, okay, it's not going to work out. We're not going to cry about it or stay awake wondering what our future together would have looked like. We can't get emotionally invested, even if it sounds like we are. Progressive's Home Quote Explorer allows you to easily compare home insurance rates and coverages in one place, even if it's not with us. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates of third-party insurance comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. I love you. I shouldn't have said that.
Morning. On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
So the Jake Retzlaff story has taken another turn. The BYU quarterback who was really, really good. Very unique situation. Here is a young Jewish man playing at BYU and starring for the Cougars. Well, news came down yesterday that he is facing a 7-game suspension after admitting to premarital sex. The 7-game suspension is not from the NCAA or from the league, no, it's from BYU. It's a violation of the school's honor code. That long of a suspension is a violation of the school's honor code. Premarital sex. So because he is facing this suspension, he is reportedly now planning to leave and go somewhere else for his final year of eligibility. He met with school officials on Friday. Again, was informed he likely would face the suspension. He then begun informing staff and teammates of his intention to leave. Retzlaff had been working out with the squad, participating in summer workouts and practices. Last month, and you probably heard this news, a woman had filed a civil lawsuit that alleged Retzlaff raped, strangled, and bit her in November of 2023. In a response to the lawsuit filed Friday, a lawyer representing Retzlaff denied those allegations, but said Retzlaff had consensual sex with the woman. The response indicated Retzlaff and the woman traded lighthearted text messages for months after the encounter and characterized the civil lawsuit as an extortion attempt based on the idea that Retzlaff developed into an NFL prospect roughly a year later. Now, the lawsuit, of course, describes the encounter much differently. Say, he say, she say. But the wrench thrown into all of this, again, is that it happened at BYU, not the allegations of rape, but the admitting of premarital sex. I don't know if any other school has that in their bylaws. Do you know?
I think Liberty is the only other school that I can think of.
Oh, really? Liberty does. Okay. But look, hopefully he didn't do what he was alleged to have done. And it was consensual and maybe got a little out of hand. I don't know. Who knows what happened? He knows and she knows. But he's going to get out of Dodge. Now, it doesn't mean he's getting out of his legal woes. But what school right now is going to be willing to bring him in? He's talented. But you talk about baggage. I mean, he has a whole bunch of Samsonite on his back. That's some heavy luggage that he's carrying around. But that is a really good quarterback. Really good quarterback. Tomorrow, Connor O'Gara will join us. We'll talk a lot of things SEC football. We're only a couple of weeks away from SEC Media Days. Alabama and their 2026 recruiting class has been going really well. They've added another stud, a 4-star defender, Xavier Griffin, ESPN's number 3 outside linebacker, won his commitment over Florida State, Ohio State, and Texas. And he's from Georgia, Gainesville, Georgia guy, 6'4", 205. But there had been the not rumors, but just the talk that Kalen DeBoer can't recruit the South. That's hogwash. Alabama is in the South, and whoever's running Alabama can recruit the South. So Kalen DeBoer doing well for 2026, but 2025, very important. Get back to the postseason, get back to the playoffs. Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports, in a Yahoo Sports exclusive. I haven't read the whole entire story yet, but saw the headline this morning. Tennessee AD Danny White reveals a collective bargaining proposal that he's privately shared with colleagues now for 2 years. The model creates a national organization to employ and unionize college athletes. Some people are just completely against that. I am too. Ross tweets, as college sports enters its most transformative era, many Power League ADs are urging leaders to explore collective bargaining. They are attending CBA presentations, and one SEC AD, which again is Danny White, reveals his athlete employee plan. He said, this is Danny White, I'm not biting my tongue anymore. Do you think that's the way to go? I mean, we're already to the point where these guys are professionals, gals too, being paid. Do we want them to be employees? Do we want them to have a union where they can collectively bargain? Do we want them to pay, well, they're already going to pay taxes, but be responsible, via IRS, that kind of stuff. Is that what we're looking at here? Do we want it to go that far?
I think eventually we could see it get to that point for sure. I think that could get messy, especially at the beginning. There will need to be absolute details hashed out for that, especially when you're talking about 18, 19, 20-year-old kids in some cases. But yeah, I think we could very well see it.
Yeah, that's the dilemma, right? 18, 19. Now there's older athletes, but young. 3-4 years away from legally drinking. Yet they have all this money now and the responsibilities that go with it. Again, I'm using the air quotes, amateur? I don't think so. So maybe that is the right move. But I don't want to see that where they become employees of a school. Big 12 made a decision, not a big deal, but it kind of had legs over the weekend, this story, to get rid of their football preseason media poll. Why? Let the kids play. Let the media members make their stupid picks. I did it for years for the SEC when I attend media days. Who cares? Yeah, they were way off last year. Reigning champion Arizona State was ranked last in the 2024 media poll. So what? Who's really hurt by this? Was Kenny Dillingham?
That stuff serves as fuel too for Arizona State. I know that they were inspired by that pick, by those picks.
Yeah, I mean, do other coaches think that, oh man, you gave them an advantage because you picked them last and they had that extra incentive? And what? That's just strange. Preseason polls primarily exist as conversation starters before the games begin. There's more emphasis on the AP poll. That's the starting point for everybody, including the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, even though they won't admit that. But that's where everything starts. That's where the rankings start. The rankings are, again, necessarily a part of their criteria, or not supposed to be, for selecting at-larges. But as far as a starting point for conversation on shows like ours, I love it. I love that in a couple of weeks, Brett will be at SEC Media Days, and I think it comes usually later that Thursday after the fourth and final day, or maybe even the Friday, I forget. But we'll talk about it. Oh, man, what a bad pick. What a good pick. No, this team should be higher. It's fun. It's something to talk about. And the Big 12 wants to get away from that because somebody had hurt feelings? Is that what we're talking about here? Because Arizona State was picked dead last? Hey, the media gets it wrong too. For many, many years, they got it wrong with the SEC. Seemed like they never picked the winning team. I don't know. I just thought it was stupid. Why even go there? All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we open up hour number 2, getting back into the NBA with free agency beginning tonight or late this afternoon, 5 o'clock Central Time. How busy of a day, how busy of a next week or so for the Grizzlies will it be? Drew Hill, the lead Grizzlies reporter for the Daily Memphian, will join us to open up hour number 2. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Unleash the power. Make every mile count in your new Volkswagen from Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike. Available right now, 2025 Jetta SN 2025 Taos, 4.9 for 60 months. 2025 Atlas and Atlas Cross Sport, 3.9% for 60 months. And 1,500 loyalty rebate on all 2025 GTIs, Jettas, Taos, Tiguan's Atlas and Atlas Cross Sport. Plus 5,000 off 2024 Atlas Cross Sport SELR line. But only 2 left, so you better hurry to Gossett Volkswagen. 1875 Covington Pike or online anytime at GossettVWMemphis.com. That's Gossett, charging forward and charging less every day.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Volkswagen.
picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
This traffic report on Sports 56 is brought to you by Palo Windows and Doors of Memphis and the Mid-South Palo Windows. The standard is affordable luxury.
Good morning. It's picked up a little bit more in the last few minutes coming down the interstate over here on 40 westbound at Germantown Parkway down past Sycamore View Road. Midtown traffic has increased just a little bit more on 240 north up by Lamar. It's increasing also on I-40 coming over from West Memphis right now. 40 east here at the Hernando de Soto Bridge. Weimer's Jewelry is your diamond engagement ring headquarters this bridal season. Stop by and see them this week and shop local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Back to Sports 56 morning. Isn't it lovely morning? On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:03 the time. Hour 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings on this Monday, June 30th, 2025. Final day of June for 2025. Free agency in the NBA begins tonight at 5 o'clock Central Time. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers, Eli is off this week. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. Short week for us with no show on Friday because of the 4th of July. We are in the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 79, going to heat up to 90. Partly cloudy. Same deal. You'll see some sun, you'll see some clouds, and then a good chance that you'll see a pop-up storm, a thunderstorm, whatever the case may be. About a 55% chance of that. And then tonight, about a 60% chance of rain. Now, when it does rain, if it rains, could be some strong gusty winds along with the rain. 73 for your low tonight. And then tomorrow, again, similar thing with 91 degrees as your high, some sun, some clouds, and the chance of rain. Hour 2 of the program brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. They're your family's jeweler. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5, Saturday, 10 to 4. Closed on Sunday. They're your bridal engagement and anniversary jeweler headquarters. And every Monday and Friday, they bring you the Memphis Sports Fact. Did you know that the Minnesota Timberwolves did not pick up the team option on Josh Minot's $2.19 million deal for the 25-26 season? That means the former Memphis Tiger is now a free agent. So good luck to Josh. Hopefully he'll catch on with his athleticism. I think there is a good opportunity. We gave you all the other Memphis connections as far as free agents and others who were drafted and signed, a number of players that will be participating in the camp, or in the summer league, I should say, whether it be to start off in Salt Lake City, where the Grizzlies are headed, and then on to Vegas for the big one, July 10th through the 20th. It's just around the corner. We are very pleased to be joined by a man who has the finger on the pulse of the Grizzlies, everything that's going on. It's been a busy time, will continue to be busy. He is the lead Grizzlies reporter for the Daily Memphian. You can follow him on Twitter at DrewHill_DM. Drew Hill joining us now on the program. Good morning, Drew.
Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Doing great. Eli off today, so you got just yours truly, Drew. And I just wanted to say this. Congratulations on everything that's going on in your life, because I think it's your world now. We're just kind of maneuvering through it in the last, I don't know, year or 2 years, just the way you're crushing it in your professional life, what you're doing over at the DM. And then, of course, personally, congratulations on everything that's going on. I know you've been busy with a house that you got that's new now. So way to go, man. Lots of things going on in your life.
Well, thanks, Greg. That means a lot, actually. It's been hard. It's tough.
I'm sure.
We haven't gotten out on the golf course at all this year. Usually we get a chance to do that a few times, but I'm just sort of having to live in the reality. But yeah, no, I mean, with the baby on the way, and I don't even feel like I really know yet. Everybody sort of says it's not until the baby's actually here and you're holding the baby that you realize that your life has changed. But it does already feel like my life has changed quite a bit. Trying to get settled. The wife's doing the whole nesting thing and trying to do as much work as I possibly can, given that I've had like 5 different life changes. But I thought it's all worked out, and we got some really great Cedric Coward features, and I'm looking forward to going to Summer League.
Yeah, it's not been a gradual thing for you. It seems like everything all together at once. You always have an open-ended invitation anytime you do have a free moment, which may be it may be years from now, but you always have that invitation. And again, congratulations on everything. You will. Let me tell you something. When that baby is born, it'll be nothing like it. I guess I'm fairly emotional. I mean, I'm not like I'm going to cry at the drop of a hat. But when the babies came out, and Greg was my first one, and then Gina, man, that baby came out, I was like, I couldn't stop. Like, it was uncontrollable. Like, I couldn't control my tears that were coming down. It's just, it changes your life, and it changes your life for the good. So I'm happy for you. The Grizzlies are trying to change lives for the good. At least I know there's a lot of things that are going on, a lot that's already happened, starting with the coaching change. But my gosh, I have been critical of Zach Kleiman in the past, although I've been complimentary of what he has done so far in the off season. First of all, coming out and saying what he said at the exit interviews, that right now we're not even close. I love that he admitted that. The fact that he didn't commit to the core 3. I don't want to say the big 3 because it never materialized as a big 3. Then he went out and he made a trade. I had no problem with the trade, with all the assets they were able to get. They picked out their guy in the first round that they wanted in Cedric Coward. They went after him, got him. They moved up to get him. I had no problem with that. So right now, I like what they've done, yet I look around the West. I know what the Grizzlies have done to this point, and I go, oh my gosh, I think they're barely a play-in team right now. So obviously, when you lose a Desmond Bane, you are taking a step back. And Zach said it. You take a step back to move forward. How can they move forward, Drew, to be that competitive team to stay up and keep up with the Oklahoma Cities, the Houstons, the Minnesotas, so on and so forth?
If you want the honest answer, I don't know if there's another move or two out there that's really going to push them to the top of the food chain in the Western Conference. I think my colleague Chris Harrington did a really good job of doing this. But I think if you go listen to what Zach Kleiman has to say in some of these press conferences, he tells you. Sometimes there's some reading between the lines that has to be done. But it sounds like, this team wants to bring back Santi Aldama. This team really wants to sign Jaren long term. They got to renegotiate the contract to do it. They're going to do both of those things, and once they do both of those things, I feel like it's the options are going to be limited. Now, those aren't guaranteed to happen, but if you're following what the Grizzlies want to accomplish, they're not going to take those two things off the table. So if you take that in consideration, and then you try to move forward, they're going to have the room exception, which I believe is 8.9 or 8.8 million, and then and so then the entire mid-level exception, the 14.1 million that you get for being an above the cap team, is not going to apply to Memphis. And so there's just not a ton out there. Like, they could trade the Cole Anthony contract. What are they really going to return for that? Nothing of major significance you would suspect unless they threw a bunch of draft assets in there. I don't think – I would assume they would be pretty hesitant to get off the Phoenix pick for next year that they've acquired, or the swap that would give them access to that Phoenix pick next year, because the top of the draft next year is super loaded in the top 5, and who knows what Phoenix could be. They could be pretty bad. So, I think that if that is the case, like, that they're probably not going to move that. So, long answer, but really short conclusion. I don't know if they're going to be able to do anything else to push themselves to the very top of the West. I think that they're going to be in the mix. They're going to have to bet on some internal improvement, and I think Zach Kleiman sort of said it after the draft. Like, to move up and take Cedric Coward was a move that potentially can pay higher end dividends in the future, but what might be a little bit more risky, right? Because there's uncertainty in the draft, and that's sort of the pathway that they chose to take. Whether you want to say why are they betting on youth again or not, like, I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But the honest answer is the draft gives you the possibility of the highest end outcome for the Grizzlies. Their big name free agents aren't signing here, right? Like, the draft was the pathway to try to get a lot better. And if the Cedric Coward pick hits and he's really good, and Jalen Wells continues to improve and he's really good, now all of a sudden, the Grizzlies are looking more like a contender. But in terms of what they can do in free agency to try to match, Oklahoma City and Houston, I just don't see it happening.
Long answer, but honest answer. And I respect that, because I'm kind of in the same boat with the way you feel and the way you think, and you're more inside baseball than I am. But we'll get back to what's even out there and what's even possible, although limited, in a second. But I do want to ask you this. In your opinion, how did the Grizzlies go from mid-season second best record in the West to now a team that you go, oh my gosh, they could possibly be out of the play-in 25-26?
I think there was a lot of factors there. I think that one of the big factors, obviously, was the health of the team. That didn't help. It didn't help that Ja missed games. It didn't help that Bane missed games in the middle of the season. And that was mixed in with the fact that here they were thinking that they were going to be a team that was loaded up with perimeter defenders. They had Vince, they had Marcus Smart. Like, those were guys that they were expecting, big things from this last season. And Marcus couldn't get on the court, and Vince was injured to start the season, and then injured in the middle of the season, and never really found his footing either. And so what became the reality was that they just weren't a very good defensive team in that setting, and that really hurt them. Now, that's not the only thing that factored into the slip. I also think, there was frustration with some of the offense. That's part of the reason why the coaching change was made. But, that frustration sort of stuck around for a while and led to some disconnect between, certain players and coaches. And I think that all of that played a factor, which was why, in the end, even though it seemed crazy to some people, Zach Kleiman made the decision, okay, it's time to make the change and change coaches here, because it just didn't seem like the ship was going to turn around at that point. So there were a lot of different factors there. But I think the main factors are, health of the team, disconnect, and the fact that defensively they just ended up not being the team that they thought that they were going to be.
Well, here we are in the offseason getting ready for 25-26, and again, we talk injury. We talk Ja, can he stay healthy, for goodness sakes, and play the bulk of the games? That's number one. Edey, who had the surgery, will miss some time. We don't know how much he'll miss, so there's that. Brandon Clark, who is a big part of the rotation, coming back from a second injury. That's another question. I mean, it's on and on and on. But after a while, even though they're legitimate excuses, injuries are legitimate, right? But after a while, people are like, okay, we're tired of it because the fans were sold this big three, we're going to win. Maybe we're going to win a championship, maybe an NBA title. Where's the parade going to be? Oh, the window's wide open. The window's almost shut now. And again, look, it starts and ends with Ja. If Ja's not healthy, he can't stay on the floor, they're dead. Let's just assume, though, Ja can stay on the floor for the bulk of the games. Jaren Jackson Jr. right now is priority number one, right, Drew? They want to get this thing done. And to get it done, they're going to have to find a little bit more salary out there. So what are the moves that will be made, in your opinion, and do you think they get this contract done this offseason?
I do think that they're going to get it done. I haven't really wavered on that. It's been something we've been talking about since towards the end of last season. I think that there's multiple ways that they could do it. They either have to, attach the Conchar contract of $6 million, or potentially Conchar and Puff to trades and get them, or to clear some cap space. And if they're able to do that, they could.
Oh,
they could.
We're losing you a little bit, Drew, there for a second. Okay, you're back.
Let me walk into this other room here.
Okay.
They could. So Conchar and Huff, obviously, those are two contracts that they could attach to, trades to try to get off some money. And then the other is Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony, that would be a way to get off of a lot more money to get you under the cap. They also could waive and stretch. That essentially would allow them to have dead money, but less dead money over a period of, I think, 3 years if they were to waive and stretch, a player like, or the remainder of the contract. So they could waive and stretch Cole Anthony. They'd have to take on some dead money. That obviously stinks. No one likes to do that, but it would probably be something that they would consider in this situation because it'd be a very easy way to get there, and it wouldn't take cooperation from anybody else. So there's different ways that they can get there, and I think that they will at some point this off season. I just think that they're trying to find the right sort of deal to clear just enough money to get Jaren renegotiated and then signed, and I think that they will do it.
Okay. Santi Aldama is another, seems like, priority. Zach Kleiman has said that. Now, they tendered the qualifying offer, which you have to, or he becomes an unrestricted free agent. What do you think he demands on the open market, and do you think that there is a limitation on where they would match? Because, yes, they want him, but they can't hemorrhage money.
Yes. I don't suspect it's going to get to a point where they're not going to be able to match or not going to be willing to match on Santi Aldama. There are some teams out there that could potentially be interested. Detroit has long been a team that has, it seems like they could be interested in a player like Santi Aldama. And obviously with everything going on with Malik Beasley right now, which is totally crazy, that could be problematic because now Detroit's going to have more money than maybe they thought that they would have. Maybe there, Atlanta, Washington, those are two teams that I had heard at one point might be interested. I don't think it's going to get to a point where the Grizzlies aren't going to be able to get something done for Santi. I think by now, a lot of the time, free agency officially begins at 6 p.m. today, Eastern time, so 5 p.m. Central time. We all know free agency doesn't start right then, right? Like, we're not that naive. Like, you see all the deals that are out there with Shams and stuff. I imagine by now they probably have a sense of what the market could potentially be on Santi Aldama. And I think that they're going to get a deal done, and Santi's going to be back with the Grizzlies.
Do you expect to hear some news on any front today or in the next couple of days, or will be quiet for the Grizzlies?
Potentially. I think the most likely of them would be Santi, and then the other would be the Jaren stuff. I think that we potentially could hear on those guys. This is a process, right? There's several days over which this all takes place, but it does get turning a lot sooner than people realize. Like, as we've seen, nobody's really waiting around for things to happen. All these NBA teams are getting up their ducks in a row long before all that starts. So,
Sure.
I think it is a possibility. I wouldn't say for certain, but I think that I would suspect that both, if I were to guess right now, both the Jaren and the Santi thing will happen at some point this summer. And really starting today is the first day that I think it becomes a lot more likely.
Okay, let's assume that Santi is back in the fold. Again, they had this two-way qualifying offer to Spencer. I don't know if Spencer's going to be on the 15-man or what's going to happen with him. How many openings are there going to be on the roster? And what do you think they'll do with the $8.8 million room exception? Will they break it up? Is there enough where they have a couple roster spots, or is it going to be used on one player, or is it not going to be used? What are they going to do with that?
I would probably guess that it'll be used on one player. I think if you're looking at the roster right now, and I would have to do maybe some more math or some quick math in my head right now. So if you add Cam Spencer to the roster, you would have space to use that room exception for, one player that could be a veteran that you could try to add. I know Ty Jerome was a name that got thrown out there, but I'm not sure how they're going to be able to sign him without doing some more work, because I would suspect he's going to want more than that 8.8 room exception. So potentially, I thought that they might try to go out and add another veteran big. I think that would be a needed addition, considering Zach Edey's going to miss time to start the regular season. I feel like adding to the front court depth was something that they may, try to address on the very back end of the roster in the draft and go get at least one big.
I thought so too.
That worked there. They didn't do it. So I still think that there's some work to do there. So maybe that's the direction that they go. I know Day'Ron Sharp is a player that Grizzlies fans have long been interested in, who's going to be a free agent. So I think that they'll use it somehow on a player like that. It's not going to be a player, like I said, that I think is going to get people really excited, but I think that they'll find a way to use it. And then, that leaves you essentially, if you just consider two-way spots, no one has suspected Yuki's going to be back, right? Because he just wasn't playing NBA minutes, and I'm not sure from what you have seen so far that you can say he's for sure a real NBA player. So Zion Pullen was on a 2-year, two-way deal. Those things circle in and out, but I think he'll at least get a chance to stay on that two-way deal. Javon Small, you'd expect to be on a two-way deal. And then Meshack is going to at least compete to be on a two-way deal, and he'll be on the Summer League roster. So, don't you think Meshack and because Pullen is not guaranteed, don't you think Meshack and Pullen will be battling for the one spot? Small would be the second, and then maybe they'll get somebody else like a wing or a forward, and then they'll put Spencer on the 15-man. Doesn't that sound logical? Yes, but I think the hope is that Zion Pullen can be they thought he was having a breakout last year before he got hurt.
Okay.
So I thought maybe, I think, look, let's just be honest about it. We've seen it. Colin Castleton, how long was he on a two-way contract? These things come and go. But I think if they had it their way, I think that they still feel good about those players. They just want to sort of see what they look like when they get to Summer League. So I wouldn't say that they're committed to anybody on two-way contracts, because that's just not how the NBA works. But I do think that there's going to be one spot that's going to be that they're going to compete for, and Meshack will be one of those players that we know for sure is competing for it in terms of two-way deals. And then I think Cam Spencer, who they extended the qualifying offer for, is just going to be on the 15-man main roster. I just think that that's, if you're reading between the lines here and you're listening to what Zach Kleiman said at exit interviews and his glowing review of Cam Spencer, I would just be shocked if he wasn't on the team. So that's going to happen. So yeah, that leaves a couple spots still, a couple of main roster spots still. You know, you could add a player with that room exception. You could even go out and sign somebody to a vet minimum. I wonder if Marvin Bagley would be a player that they would be interested in if he can't get more from somewhere else. You know, maybe you could bring him back in addition to, you know, another front court player or, you know, something else. I thought about that too, you know, especially with Bagley, whose career has been, you know, up and down. He's played on bad teams. He's been injured, but he did look pretty good for Memphis at the end of the regular season. And, you know, when they traded for him, I don't think there was really any expectations, but I think he did pretty well. And that, you know, that probably is sticking with the front office's mind. So if there's an opportunity to bring him back on a small deal,
get him on the cheap,
maybe,
right?
Maybe you do that, especially since, you know, again, your front court is going to start the season, you know, short a player. So
exactly.
If you can do that, I think, you know, you did pretty well. I don't see the massive move out there. Maybe there is one. You know, maybe you could package a couple of bigger contracts to try to get something done to really shake things up. But in terms of like going out and getting a third star,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that happening.
No,
be honest.
I could ask you a million questions. I've already kept you a long, long time, but my gosh, I got so many questions. I'm going to ask you one more in a second, but I want to do this next thing real quick. Rapid fire.
Okay.
Are they on the team or not? Cole Anthony.
I'm going to say not.
Okay. Conchar.
If Anthony's not, I'll say not.
Okay, and Huff.
I'll say not. I'll say
wow.
not.
Is there another one I'm missing? I guess if there was a trade, you know, Gigi or Vince or something could be involved, but they're pretty much the candidates to help financially with Jaron. With his game.
All three of them.
Okay,
are.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But look, they don't have to get. So me saying not on all of them is just that's me thinking it's over 50% potentially or around 50%.
Right.
Like I don't think all three will be gone, but I think for certain at least one or two of them will be gone.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not going to hold it to you. I'll hold you to it. All right, last thing, about a minute or so, but where are they getting the shooting? Where's the shooting coming from on this team? Where's the three-point shooting? Where are they getting it from?
I mean, it's a good question because I don't think Luke Kennard's going to be back. It's a really, really good question. Santi was a 38%
okay.
three-point shooter.
Can't play a lick of
That's gonna
defense,
be one of
but
them.
he's okay.
And then Coward is supposedly, we haven't seen a ton of them at high major college basketball, but they're really impressed with his shooting. And as I've talked to people from his background, they're like, I don't think people realize how good of a shooter he is. Like, he can shoot 40% in the NBA. So
yeah, but now it's the NBA. You know, let's give him time.
I got to see it. I got to see it. Yeah, but I think they think he's a very good shooter. But I think there will be shooting questions on this team. I think that there will certainly be shooting questions as we get to the regular season.
Are you, with the baby coming, are you able to go to Vegas?
I am. I'm going to go to Salt Lake and Vegas. I'm not going to be out there the entire time like I was last year. Man, that's a long haul.
I know. I saw you out there.
But I'll be out there for some of Salt Lake City and some of Las Vegas too. So I'm excited about it. You know, everybody gets all pumped about Las Vegas. Maybe this is just me getting older and more mature. I get more excited about Salt Lake. Salt Lake is like so relaxed. It's just like it's so laid back. You show up. Like, I've said this multiple places now. Like, I know Vegas Summer League is fun and you get to do Vegas in addition to doing Summer League, but if I was a Grizzlies fan and I was interested in going to Summer League, I'm telling you, Salt Lake City is the opportunity to, like, you get to walk around by the court. Like, I'm pretty sure it's general admission seating. Like,
that city's beautiful,
pretty
too.
Good deal.
That city, that area is beautiful. And then you go to all the Salt Lake City casinos afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, well, you can play golf, beautiful golf courses. And speaking of golf, in Salt Lake City, I've done that a few
Absolutely.
times,
My son
so.
just got back from there, that area, not Salt Lake City, but that area. It's great stuff. Hey, Drew, always great stuff. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you sometime soon. I know the baby's coming. Good luck with everything. And I know Drew will have everybody covered with all Grizzlies news. Could be starting today at the Daily Memphian. Follow him on Twitter at DrewHill_DM. Thank you, Drew.
Thanks, Greg. See ya.
Take care. We will take a break. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
It's summer in the Mid-South and deals have never been hotter at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. You'll find 0% for 36 months available on new 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Get 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, Car and Driver rated #1 best non-hybrid electric fuel economy with 39 combined MPG. Buy Mirage, only $17,675. 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV plug-in hybrid, $299 a month with combined range of 420 miles. Beats Mazda CX-90's warranty and mileage. And 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, $28,480 or $349 a month. Plus peace of mind with 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. So get to Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
With Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, you can easily find the right home insurance for you, even if it's not with Progressive. But if you don't choose us, then sure, okay, it's not going to work out. We're not going to cry about it or stay awake wondering what our future together would have looked like. We can't get emotionally invested, even if it sounds like we are. Progressive's Home Quote Explorer allows you to easily compare home insurance rates and coverages in one place, even if it's not with us. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurance comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. I love you. I shouldn't have said that.
Good morning. It's picked up just a little bit more in the last few minutes. 51 southbound out of Millington as you come through Woodstock. Still moving right now in the Midtown area. It's busier than it was 20 minutes ago on 240 north up by Lamar as it continues to pick up through South Haven right now. Coming up from the south on 55 northbound all the way up through South Memphis. Dandelions, crabgrass, lawn solutions here. And Memphis says give them a call today. They'll take care of it for you. Make your yard look beautiful this summer. That's Lawn Solutions, 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Genuine diamonds, baby.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
You can tell Drew's getting domesticated when he's talking about all the pros of Salt Lake City Summer League as opposed to Vegas. Everybody who has an opportunity is going to want to go out there to Vegas, to Sin City, and watch all those teams in action. But, yeah, it's only like 4 teams, I think, at Salt Lake City. But it is a beautiful area. I've had the pleasure of being out there a couple of times. I called an NIT game out there, and I called the short-lived Alliance of American Football when Memphis played out there in Salt Lake City, where the University of Utah plays. Elijah, it is just breathtaking with the mountains, snow-capped mountains in the background. Really, really good stuff. All right, we've had some folks who wanted to chime in on what Drew and I talked about with the Grizzlies, and you can do so as well. Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines are always open to you guys at 901-360-8255. You could call in or text in. You got some texts to read?
We do. First from Paul, he says, what about trying to get DeAndre Ayton after the Portland buyout?
Yeah, I wonder what that would cost. But I think he's going to end up with the Lakers. I think this smells like Los Angeles. This smells like a move that the Lakers will make. They were void of a big last year. That was a major problem for them. I think he is going. This is a move to get him now out there in the open market for the Lakers to grab him. As far as the Grizzlies, I don't know, because here's the deal. They just want a stopgap for a little while because their guy is Zach Edey. They took him with the 9th pick overall in the draft 2 years ago? This is their guy. They're sold on Edey, first-team all-rookie, but you hope, God forbid, that this doesn't become a rash of injuries. He was not hurt pretty much in college at Purdue. And so this surgery certainly is a setback, but he won't be out, at least what we're hearing, that long, meaning missing that many games in the regular season, during the regular season. So you're trying to find somebody to kind of fit in there. Probably Brandon Clark is your starter. And then a guy to come off the bench and be the more physical, rebound, set screens type center, which Jay Huff really isn't. Ayton would be a guy who would be battling for a starting job. So I don't know if they're willing, and I don't know if they can afford. I don't know what he would demand now or command now because of the fact that he hasn't lived up to the expectations. But, yeah, I like Ayton. I actually think he's a pretty good player. But, yeah, I don't think they're looking for necessarily that type of player. Would they love to have him if they could afford him? Probably. But I don't think that's the type of player they can afford or the type of player they're looking at. I think that money with that room exception is going to go somewhere other than the center. But I could be wrong about that. He brought up, who's the guy from Daron Sharp?
Daron Sharp.
Yeah, they could go after somebody like him in the open market. Again, not flashy, not a name that people are going to go, wow. I mean, but then again, with Ayton, people are going like, bust. He's not a bust.
Yeah, after the buyout yesterday, he's set to make $14 million this year before becoming an unrestricted free agent this next offseason.
Yeah, so you can't afford him.
Yeah. Other text here says, from Ron, says, I think the Grizzlies will dump up a couple of players and be done. No new additions.
Well, they got to fill the holes, right? If they dump a few players, they're going to carry the max of 15, but veterans minimum they can use. Again, they still have that. They have that $8.8 million room exception. That doesn't put them into another apron or a situation where they're paying taxes. And remember, I mentioned this earlier, they will be hard capped at the first apron. So right now they only have $5 million wiggle room. But they're going to, his first part is absolutely correct. They're dumping some salary. They are doing something to get off of a couple of contracts, so they have the money now to go after Jaren Jackson Jr. and get this deal in place. And that has nothing to do with Aldama because it's their own player. They plan on, I assume, matching unless it's some astronomical figure that somebody gives them out there or offers Santi Aldama. But then you have to fill those spots. Again, I think Cam Spencer, and that's what Drew was alluding to, will probably be rewarded with one of those spots from last year where he was a two-way guy. And then it depends on how many guys they lose. They're not bringing back Kennard. I don't think that's happening. Santi, I think it will happen. So you'll be minus a player there too. And so that's one where, again, you bring in somebody at low-scale price to fill that spot.
Yeah, I think a couple names to maybe look out for. If they were to add somebody to replace the production of Luke Kennard, I think about a Tim Hardaway Jr. maybe or a Gary Trent Jr. Those are two names who could possibly be thrown into the mix.
Yeah, see, I like those type of players that are more defensive-oriented but can still knock down the threes every once in a while. I'm not saying they're going out there and shooting the ball like Steph Curry, but they can help it. But they're hard-nosed, physical players. We're never going to get away from grit and grind. It's just never going to happen. But last year we actually could have used grit and grind. And, again, these young players they brought in are those style of players, but how much more can they depend on second-round picks? Can they get lucky again? We don't know if Meshack will even be a part of the team. Small will be on a two-way contract. But again, they're hard-nosed defensive guys. Coward seems to be a really good two-way guy, but he's young. I mean, numerically, he's a little bit older than some of the guys because he played – how many years he ended up playing in college? 4?
He played 3.
3, okay. But as far as experience is concerned, he played 6 games at Washington State. Before that, at what? Eastern Washington. Before that, at Willamette. I know I mispronounced it the last time. I don't know if I got it right that time. But the point is, he doesn't have a lot of big-time experience. But they love him. It's all of this is a gamble on any draft pick. I mean, I think Cooper Flagg's a safe gamble. Everybody in their right mind would take him number 1. But this guy to move up from 16 to 11, which included a first-round pick, I thought it was worth the gamble because that's the guy they zeroed in on. They've had recently more success with second-round guys than they've had with first-round guys. It doesn't mean this young man, Cedric Coward, won't be a hit. I like everything about what he had to say. He knows the history. They always seem to get really good guys that know that kind of stuff, that are articulate. But, again, the jury's out on that, but the jury's out on every pick around the league. Any more texts?
No, that's all for
Okay,
now.
again, if you want to hit us up, 360-8255, 901-360-8255. One other thing before we take our next time out. Ace Bailey did arrive, speaking of Salt Lake City, in Salt Lake City on Saturday and said he never thought about holding out or forcing a trade. He, I guess, was a little bit late coming in. They thought that he would maybe arrive on Friday, but he arrived on Saturday. No big deal. I don't know what happened there. But he said all the right things on Saturday. Said, just blessed to be in the position I am. And look, if he turns out to be a really, really good player, and I think, like we just talked about, even with him, a number 5 overall pick who could have easily been the number 3 overall pick, I think the jury is still out, right? We will see. But he could end up being a stud for Utah. He could. Does he have his mind? Does he have his head glued on? Does he have it? Does he mentally? Is he ready to go? With what he said on Saturday, he's taken a positive step because those first few steps were not good, and that was because of the bad advice he got from his representative, who only represents Ace Bailey and is not even a certified agent in the NBA. So That guy who has been criticized up and down, I don't know him. I can't sit here and rip apart the guy from what he has done in the past. I have no idea what he's done in the past. But this is his only client I've read. And to tell him to not work out for teams, it cost Ace Bailey several $1 million, whatever it is from going from number 3 to number 5. He's still going to make a lot of money. It's still lucrative being picked at number 5, but he just did not advise him right. And I'm not saying he's shaking off this guy, but on Saturday he came in and he said the right thing. So good luck to that young man. Good luck to the Utah Jazz as they took a chance drafting him. It could have been a huge backfire. Absolutely could have said, I don't want to be there, but then, what are you going to do? Who cares? An unproven rook that's not named Cooper Flagg. Speaking of basketball, take your basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. It's a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification, provides instant objective feedback with hands-on one-on-one expert coaching. 2 locations in Cordova. That's the 50,000 square foot facility. They have everything there, including 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. They're in Big Orange Road in Cordova. You can call them at 901-779-3176. They're also in Collierville. That's the original, 85 Market Street. You can call them there at 901-316-5500. You can go right online and register, or you can do what I suggest all the time. Give them a call, either of those locations. I would say Cordova because you see everything at Cordova. They don't have everything at Collierville. But walk around Cordova, have them show you. Go and try what it's all about with that cutting-edge technology, and you're going to fall in love with it. And you can sign up now, month to month. Sign up for a month. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. But I'm telling you, you're going to fall in love with it. For all you basketball players, you want to become a better all-around player, want to become a better shooter specifically. Some of the pros, some of the best that have ever played the game have used Shoot 360 technology, including Steph Curry. Our friend Thaddeus Young, one of the owners of Shoot 360 Memphis. The future of basketball training is here at Shoot 360 Memphis. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Everything today is technology-based. Except maybe you. If you're struggling with making a meal of kind, hard paper for you. Free for TVs, theaters, cameras, smartphones, and digital storage and more. Cable Home, 664-9695. Making your home safe, secure, and up-to-date. Free. Start struggling with cable. 697-9695. Veteran Home, tech for you. Technology simplified.
Breakfast Sammy's, scrambles, and chicken and waffles. For lunch, check out the Mississippi pot roast, chicken fried steak, grilled meatloaf, one of our best-selling burgers, lipstick on a cow. Pickup, delivery, and catering are also available. Visit WallyHatchets.com to order online. Wally Hatchets is located at 6439 Summer Avenue and open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Wally Hatchets, count your blessings, not your calories.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Diamonds are forever.
Once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:51 is the time. Final segment here in hour number 2. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers, Jonah Dillon will be joining us in hour number 3. Looking forward to having Jonah on in studio from the Commercial Appeal to talk about everything from the Grizzlies to Tigers football and everything in between. We'll get to a number of different topics. So the United States men's national soccer team survived Costa Rica. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I know. The best athletes from Costa Rica play soccer, and then I'm tired of that. Tired of the argument. But the United States won. At least they won in a dramatic 4-3 shootout win. They had a 2-1 lead. Costa tied it up, Costa Rica. And then Matt Freese, the goalkeeper for the United States, had 3 saves, 3 big saves with PKs, and they get the win. That was the quarterfinals of the Gold Cup. And so now they move into the semifinals. That was played at U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Good for them. Good for them. They beat that big metropolis, 5 million people in Costa Rica. But we prevailed. Lots of big matches to come with the World Cup next year, hosted by North America. And then the Olympic Games right around the corner. And the United States hopefully will have all their players playing and will be good. They've been criticized a lot here this summer or late spring for players missing time. But again, they have their own excuses and a very full schedule. I understand that, but there's got to be more of a commitment to the national team like there are with many, many other countries. Mentioned earlier the passing of the Cobra Dave Parker, Major League Baseball legend, who unfortunately succumbs to Parkinson's 1 month before he's set to enter Cooperstown. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony will be late July or early August, whenever that is. Also from Major League Baseball over the weekend, Shohei Ohtani, his 3rd start for the Los Angeles Dodgers. His first 2 starts, he went just an inning each. This one, he only went 2. But again, extremely effective. 3 pitches over 100 miles per hour, and 1 he uncorked at 101.7 miles per hour. So he's getting there. They're being very diligent with his usage. They want to make sure that, God forbid, he doesn't get hurt again. So they're going slowly but surely with Shohei Ohtani. St. Louis Cardinals, I mentioned this earlier, a 3-game sweep of the Cleveland Guardians. They outscore them 21-6. We will have Cardinals reporter Katie Wu on with us later on in the week to talk about the Cards. We have a lot of Cards fans in the area. Eli, not one of them, of course. Cardinals are now 2.5 games behind the Cubs in the NL Central. The Brewers are just a half a game in front of the Cardinals. Cardinals are now a season-best 9 games over 500. What's interesting is the Dodgers, who have now opened up a 7-game lead in the West, it was all cluttered with the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants, even the Diamondbacks were right there. And for the first couple of months of the year, of the season, you looked at the standings, and the wild card teams were the Padres and the Giants, or the Giants and the Dodgers, whoever was in first. It was that close. But the wild cards were coming from the West. You look right now, today, on the 30th of June, and the wild card teams, double check it, the wild card teams are the Brewers and the Cardinals to go along with the Mets. The Mets trail the Phillies. But the Mets, the Brewers, and the Cardinals right now are ahead of the Padres, the Giants, the Reds, and the Diamondbacks. So it has completely flip-flopped. The National League Central, which was not looked at as a strong division, the Cubs certainly were, but the Brewers have finally turned it around, and the Cardinals have been a big, big surprise. In the meantime, I mentioned the Mets. The Mets now are trailing the Phillies by a game and a half, and they're still 11 games over 500. However, they have gone kaput in the last couple of weeks. The Mets are 3-12 in their last 15 games. They were swept over the weekend by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yes, the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have a minus 42 run differential, one of only 4 negative run differentials in the National League. Your Rockies, a minus 221. But the Pirates swept the Mets. So I don't know what's going on with the Mets because Juan Soto's starting to hit the ball. He's up to 20 home runs now. He's getting hot. But the Mets have gone completely cold. The hottest team is Detroit. And they are 21 games over 500 now. Now, they've only won 2 in a row, and they're only 5-5 in their last 10. But when I say hottest, you look overall at that record, and that is tied for the best in baseball along with the Dodgers. Tigers, 21 games over 500. And Tariq Skubal, did you see what he did last night?
13 strikeouts, I know.
In 7 innings. And at one point, I think he had struck out 7 or 8 in a row. I wasn't watching the game, but I was trying to keep up with it. Skubal is absolutely incredible. You think about the Tigers over the last, I don't know, decade, 10, 12 years. They've had Max Scherzer. They've had Justin Verlander. Now they got Skubal. They have had some incredible pitchers. And Skubal right now, the odds-on favorite to win the American League Cy Young. But he could also be up there and will be up there for most valuable player. That's how good that guy has been. All right, let's see. Oh, wanted to mention one other thing before we break, and then the third hour, Jonah Dillon will join us. You didn't pay for the Jake Paul fight, did you?
Not a chance.
Okay, yeah, good. Because I got burned already with the Tyson fight. And I said it on this air that I will never do that again, and I didn't do it. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and defeated him in a unanimous decision. But again, it was one of those deals where, and this is from what I read. I didn't pay for it. I didn't watch it. That Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was not throwing any punches for like the first 4 or 5 rounds. Remember Tyson? Now, he's 39, I think. Tyson was ancient, but he still wasn't throwing any punches. And this guy wasn't throwing any punches. Then started to throw some punches and connect. But it was too little, too late. Jake Paul's adamant about this. It's not BS. You know, I'm looking to fight better fighters. There are real legitimate fighters who are still young, and maybe for the payday, they'll want to fight this guy. I just want to see one of them fight him and knock him out. Unless, again, the fix, because it just seems like the fix is in. I know he's big and he's strong. He's not fast. He's lumbering. He gets tired. He's not bad, but he's not a professional 28-year-old boxer who's world ranked in the top 5. He will get slaughtered, or at least I think he will. Now, that's one I might watch or pay for just to watch and to see him get beat up. But I got to give him credit because him and his brother have made millions. So their entrepreneurship, their business savvy, second to none. We'll take a break. When we come back, Jonah Dillon for an hour in studio. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in
in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free border sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsofMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quicky's Barbecue in Cordova. It's time to turn corners and turn heads in your new Gossett Kia from Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike. Discover peace of mind in your new Kia with Kia's 10-year 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. How about $5 a day in 2025 Kia K4 LXS, $150 a month. 2025 Kia K5 LXS, we Gossett $265 a month. 2025 Sportage $275 a month. And 2025 Kia Telluride S $359 a month. We Gossett covered for every family and every budget at Gossett Kia on the Pike. All $49.99 with signing, 24-month lease. Ask for Bobby J. He's waiting to put you in your new Kia today. Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike online. KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
This traffic brought to you by Raleigh Tire Auto Service, your local family-owned business for over 60 years.
Good morning. A little bit more volume in the last few minutes. Southbound Austin P getting up on that ramp there to I-40. Midtown traffic has increased just a little bit more on 240 north at Lamar. Still moving right now, coming up through South Haven on 55 going northbound all the way up to Brooks and Elvis Presley. Weimer's Jewelry, your diamond engagement ring headquarters. It's bridal season. Stop by and see them this week and shop local at Weimer's Jewelry at 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:05 the time. Final hour for us today here on Sports 56 Mornings, the Monday, June 30th, 2025 edition. Final day in the month of June for 2025. And of course, NBA free agency begins tonight at 5 o'clock Central. Greg Aston and Elijah Seegers. Eli is on vacation this week. I'll be following suit next week. It's one of those situations about this time every summer where we get our vacations in, because this is supposed to be the calm before the storm, the slow time in sports, but there's still a lot going on, obviously, with NBA free agency and Summer League about to begin for the Grizzlies and other things going on around the country and around the world. We're broadcasting live and local from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road. That is just north of I-40. Up to 80 degrees, going to get up to about 90 today, partly cloudy. So you're going to see a little sun, little clouds, and then the possibility of thunderstorms developing this afternoon. About a 80% chance now. So that's increased over the last hour or so from 60 to 80. Tonight, 60% chance of more thunderstorms. Again, not a continuous thing. It's pop-ups. That's what you get with humidity. 73 degrees for your low tonight. And again, pretty much a broken record for the early part of this week into the midweek. Late this week, it looks like it'll clear up as far as any precipitation is concerned. Hour 3 of the program brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More, 2356 Goodman Road. That is in Horn Lake. They also have a store in Little Rock, Arkansas. They specialize in flooring and carpeting. Family-owned and operated local business. If you're looking for carpeting, they have it from Southern Luxury Carpet. Hardwoods by Portercraft. They got backsplashes, plantation shutters and blinds, ceramic and porcelain tiles. They sell it wholesale, skip the middleman, and save you lots of money in the process. Plus, they will come to you wherever you are. They'll get the job done for you in a promised 2-week turnaround. They'll come and give you a free estimate. They'll bring you samples. They'll show you what it will look like. And again, you go with Jenkins, they'll get the job done in 2 weeks. Financing is always available. Sports 56 listeners, ask about your family discount. Military and first responders, you always get 10% off. That's Jenkins Floors and More, 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. You could call them at 662-469-9350. Without further ado, as promised, Jonah Dillon joining us in studio, the terrific reporter for the Commercial Appeal who covers the Grizzlies. He's the Tiger football beat writer for the CA, but you do about a million other things. You're always busy. How are you, man?
I do. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here in studio for the first time.
Thanks for joining me. You come on the show and other shows here on Sports 56 often, lending your knowledge. You're a very knowledgeable guy, and there's a lot of things going on, even though, again, you've been in the business now long enough to know that this is kind of the slow time.
Yeah, it is, but, I mean, I feel like every time we say it's a slow time,
something happens.
I'm going to check my phone, and then that's what we're doing the rest of the day. It is. At the same time, we're like less than a day away. I think we lose sight of this in college sports. We're less than a day away from colleges paying athletes for the first time ever.
That's right.
Which is crazy when you think about it in a vacuum. Like
revenue sharing beginning.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There was the story, and if I could find this story from earlier about, did you see the story with Danny White, the Tennessee AD?
I don't think so.
Okay. Elijah, I might need you to find this because this is very interesting. Here, let me see if I had retweeted it. If I did, I will have it right here. But I wanted to bring that up since you brought that up first about college sports. See if you can find that for me. From, I forget who had it. It was Ross Dellinger, I think, had this story. Let me see if I can find that real quick. But yeah, I mean, it's a whole new world. We were waiting and waiting to see when the House settlement would take place. We figured it would happen. It was just a matter of when, and it did. And now we know that July 1st begins that new fiscal year, I guess, for collegiate sports. Here it is. Let's see. This is an exclusive from Ross Dellinger for Yahoo Sports. He says, Tennessee AD Danny White reveals a collective bargaining proposal that he's privately shared with colleagues now for 2 years. The model creates a national organization to employ and unionize college athletes. Now that we have rev sharing, they're being paid as professionals. Are we going down that road where they will become employees, where they will have unions, and where they can collectively bargain?
Yeah, well, when you talk to, and that's, he's saying that they have a plan now, but if you've talked to administrators over the past couple of months, and actually even going back to when the House settlement first was kind of proposed, everybody said, look, this is a good step. It's not a long-term solution, right? This is let's get towards something else. But as we know and as we've already seen, there's all these lawsuits, right, that are coming about the House settlement, and it's going to take a long time to resolve them. And a lot of them are just problems that are not going to be resolved because the House settlement is not. It's not a long-term solution. You can ask any AD in the country if you ask them, "Is this the end goal?" and they would say no. And the end goal has to be some kind of collective bargaining situation. Now, what does that look like? How does it work? Who's an employee? Who's not an employee? Like those are really complicated things, and that's why we're not close to that happening. But if you ask people, okay, the House settlement, when we talk about it, we talk about this huge moment in college athletics and everything is going to change, which is true. I would be shocked if a decade from now we're still talking about the House settlement governing college athletics because nobody within college athletics thinks this is the long-term solution. We're talking about Congress getting involved. We're talking about new governing bodies, the NCAA, which now feels like it's in a better spot. The past couple of years feel like the NCAA itself was kind of on the brink of losing all power and going under, and they did lose their power to regulate most things. And so now we're in a situation where, yeah, we're going to move towards collective bargaining in the future. I think it's pretty inevitable that at least they're going to try to get there. And it's crazy that we have stories like that and we have this conversation going on a day before we've even gotten to the next step, which is revenue sharing. So we're already looking past that, but that's how college sports works. Nothing stays the same.
So I didn't tell you we were going to talk about this topic. I try to do. I don't do that with guests. I want it to be spontaneous. But this is a very interesting topic that's confusing at times, and we don't have all the answers. But I'll ask you this question anyway. What would be what's the benefit for the school and the student athlete, and what would be the opposite by having them be employees?
Well, first of all, legally, I think that's the biggest thing. It's like all this stuff, right? The idea of student athletes not getting paid when they're generating revenue for years and years until now. You have these exemptions and stuff, but legally it doesn't make any sense because you have somebody, just think about it like logically from a job perspective, you have somebody who's essentially performing the job of playing sports for whatever school they're at, the amount of hours that they spend doing it, and especially the revenue they bring in to the school, to the, quote unquote company, and they're not getting paid and they're not treated like an employee, right? So that's the problem. And the solution that they had for a long time was that they're really students, which is why we have the term student athlete, which doesn't, when you think about it, doesn't really make sense. I don't know if we need to keep saying student athlete now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard administrators continue to say it, but like the reason that student athlete is a term is because the schools and the NCAA wants to say that they're not athletes and they're not employees, right? They're just students. So that's why you should treat them like students. The long-term problem is that it doesn't make any sense in the context of like legality. And so even though we have this revenue sharing thing, this is a settlement that everyone's kind of agreeing on. But when we look at these lawsuits, that's the same problem is this legal? The Title IX implications, right?
I was going to ask you about that, right?
But like that's the same thing where this settlement and these new things that we're talking about are not solutions because there's still problems with laws, and now Title IX gets into a whole other thing with Department of Education and what is their policy on this and that, and it's flip-flopping back and forth, and it has to do with the presidential administration and stuff like that, and it becomes so complicated. But that's what it is ultimately we're going to get to a point where these lawsuits are going to lead to this isn't legal, and it feels, and we could be wrong, but it feels like, and certain from talking to people, this is what the sense that I get is everybody kind of thinks that if we can get to collective bargaining and an employee model in the future, there could actually be a sustainable long-term thing. That is the idea of what a sustainable long-term solution is. This House settlement and what we have now is not. Nobody thinks this is a sustainable long-term solution.
There's the old saying when it comes to the NCAA tournament, survive in advance, survive in advance. It feels like for schools that are outside the power conferences, it's survive and then hopefully advance one day, maybe to something bigger and better. And that seems to be the situation with the University of Memphis, because there's a lot that has been happening peripheral, including what's going on with the PAC, going back to last fall, and Dr. Ed Scott saying thanks but no thanks to an invite. You've written about it, you've tweeted about it, we've talked about it with the situation now with rev sharing, where the University of Memphis sits. It seems like they're in a pretty good situation for the group of five.
Yeah.
But overall, it's not even comparable to what's happening with the power conferences. So from everything that you have been able to gather in your reporting and talking to folks, where does Memphis sit right now?
Yeah, I think Memphis, like you said, sits in a good spot within the group of five. I think we see the amount of revenue, right? So now everything is about revenue. Where is the revenue coming from that you're going to pay to athletes? And there's so much less money coming into a school like Memphis, even compared to the low end of the Power Four, which is obviously why Memphis wants to get there so badly. But if you read like the stories that I wrote last week about revenue in the group of five, there's a huge gap between Memphis, which is at the top of the group of five in terms of money that it's getting from its conference, and whatever the lowest end of the Power Four is, even for schools like Cincinnati and UCF that joined the Big 12 and are not getting a full revenue share. Even those schools are getting more than $20 million in a lot of cases, and Memphis is getting $11 million as the top of the group of five. So essentially, the gap within everyone in the group of five is the same as the gap from the top of the group of five to the bottom of the Power Four. And so my understanding, and I think what most people expect, is that this gap between these schools is just going to get wider and wider between the group of five and the Power Four, which again, like you said, is why Memphis is so desperate to get into the Power Four, and also why it makes sense that we've heard from Ed Scott consistently, and his last press conference when he talked about revenue sharing and about the Pac-12 and all that stuff, once again he said, the goal is to get to a Power Four conference, and the reason is that's the long-term, that's your ticket to like a sustainable future of we're going to compete at the highest level. If you don't get there, it's really hard. You can do things, you can move money around, you can punch above your weight, as we see with a lot of teams, obviously. And we know Memphis, basketball and football have been doing that for a consistent period of time. But if you're not there, and you've seen these other teams jump out of the group of five and get there, it's really hard to end up to feel like you're there consistently and you're going to every year be able to compete with these schools. In every sport, especially in football and men's basketball.
And what do those prospects look like? To me, it seems like once they get this new college football playoff contract done, which will probably be for 6 years, we know that the ACC and the teams that were suing have reached a settlement. So
Right.
It doesn't seem like they're ready to leave. I don't think the SEC at this time is expanding. The prospects of more movement, significant movement, not what's happening with the Pac and the Sun Belt and Conference USA, significant movement within the power structure. I don't see it happening for a while.
No, I think that's the problem is there's a lot of realignment happening right now at the group of five level. And in reality, Memphis has the ability to like shake up that realignment in any way. Memphis has the most like power basically of any team right now in the group of five. So all this stuff about Memphis, the Pac-12, that if Memphis leaves the AAC, goes to the Pac-12 or goes anywhere else, it's going to have a huge impact on all of group of five realignment.
Yes.
Because there's these chain reaction things where then the Sun Belt wants this team and Conference USA wants this team. But like you said, they're trying to get a spot in the power conferences. And where's the spot, right? I think the Big 12 and the ACC, because you look at it like the SEC and the Big 10 are kind of in a different tier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're going to think that there's a conference that's going to add a team from the group of five, it's probably not going to be one of those two. And so you're looking at the ACC and the Big 12. Obviously, Memphis asked the Big 12, said, we want to join you. Please let us in, a couple years ago. And the Big 12 said, no, we're good. So something would have to be different now. Now things are different, right? The stadium for Memphis, consistent success in football over the past couple of years, men's basketball. But it's hard to see why they would choose to just to expand. And so what the reasons that you expand or do conference realignment is somebody leaves for somebody else and you have to backfill, or media rights deals, you want more teams, or you want to fortify your conference because you think something is going to happen. Right now, none of that is on the horizon. But like we just said, I mean, things change in the blink of an eye. So if that does happen, Memphis needs to position itself to be the team that gets that call.
Yeah, and I think they are doing that. I think Dr. Scott has said all the right things, and most recently said, well, there's not even an offer on the table.
Right.
We know there was last fall, but that was well before we even knew where anything stood. Eli and I have been very consistent that it would be stupid to take an invitation to the Pac the way it is right now. Now, if the Big East offered you big money to put all the rest of the sports there and you could figure something out, maybe, but that's not on the table. But I'm surprised that some other people, I'm not talking about just the regular public. I'm talking about some media members in the city that have been adamant that Memphis should have taken that offer from the Pac, and I just don't get it. I know they want to get out of the American, but you're not going to hemorrhage money.
Yeah, I think some people have. I mean, look, the idea basically is if you're on a sinking ship, you got to get off. And so the question is the AIC a sinking ship? some people say yes, you have to get off. That's usually from the basketball perspective.
Packs a dinghy.
But that's from the basketball perspective. I think that let's just continue with this metaphor forever. Get to the cruise ship of the SEC eventually. But you just hop from place to place. Although, to be fair, I think that's the problem people don't understand. You can't just hop from one boat to another, right? Like, you have to, I don't know, to continue the metaphor, you got to sign a contract, right? You can't just go on, okay, let's ride this boat to the other one,
right,
and we'll just get off whenever we want. Like, that's not how it works. And so I think if you look at it just from the basketball perspective, and you're like, we have to get into a situation where this team is competing at a higher level, because the AAC for basketball it's not even close to where it is for football, right? Football, you could say, especially right now, it's the best Group of 5 conference. There's a lot of teams that are investing, things like that. Basketball, it's not, right? I mean, there's one bid lead last year. And so from that perspective, I think there's more desperation to get out. And that's when you hear those types of things, it's coming from that perspective. Football, it's more complicated. And football is almost always what drives conference realignment, right? Almost every decision about conference realignment is about football. And although I was thinking about this recently,
unless the Big East wants to do something.
Well, I was going to say the one that I was thinking about recently that wasn't is UConn, right? UConn left the AAC for the Big East and basically just gave up on football. They're an independent. They're kind of just floating out there now. Now UConn is different. They have, you could say probably the best basketball school across men's and women's over the past, this century, whatever. And so everything is about basketball when it comes to UConn. But they did leave the AAC and clearly made their football program worse to do that and go to the Big East. And so if you're a Memphis fan, you could point at that and say, we want to do that. Now, there's a lot of questions that would follow, and I think football fans certainly would be unhappy. But I think that's what it comes down to. The people who are let's go to the Pac-12, that's a basketball thing, and understandably. But like I said, the football is almost always what these decisions are made about.
Jonah Dillon joining us here in studio from the Commercial Appeal. So with that said, when we come back, what does it all mean for Memphis? We talked about, and you said, Memphis maybe being the most powerful entity outside of the power conferences right now. We know that they're in pretty good shape with rev sharing. How does it compare to the other schools in the American? Let's talk about the expectations for football, basketball, really for all sports when we come back. And then in our last segment, we'll get Jonah's thoughts on the Grizzlies, what has happened to this point, and what still is on the horizon for them. Town Village Audubon Park is senior living in today's world, offering more options to fit your needs more than ever before. Located at 950 Cherry Road, just off Park Avenue in the heart of East Memphis. John Harden was there on Friday broadcasting his show live. Dedicated to the long-term satisfaction and the quality of life for their residents, they offer more options to fit your needs, as I mentioned, more than ever before. Independent living, short-term respite stay, monthly options. All they ask is that you're 55 years of age or older. You can call them at 901-537-0002 or go online for more information at townvillageaudubonpark.com. Some of the services and amenities include monthly rental with no buy-in, all-inclusive resort-style dining with multiple venues, bi-weekly housekeeping. Apartments include full kitchen, washer, and dryer, excluding the efficiency apartments, outpatient therapy, community amenities. They got a community social area which features a fitness center, home theater, game room, indoor pool, whirlpool, 24-hour pantry, on and on and on. Recreational, religious, social, and wellness activities, resident gardening areas, a dog park, and gated parking for your safety. It's Town Village Audubon Park, 901-537-0002. Give them a call today or go online, townvillageaudubonpark.com. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sports 56, WHBQ. Radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM. At sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere. Sports 56.
in the Mid-South, and deals have never been hotter at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. You'll find 0% for 36 months available on new 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Get 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, car and driver rated #1 best non-hybrid electric fuel economy with 39 combined MPG. Buy Mirage, only $17,675. 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV plug-in hybrid, $299 a month with combined range of 420 miles. Beats Mazda CX-90's warranty and mileage. And 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, $28,480 or $349 a month. Plus peace of mind with 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. So get to Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike, and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell, founder of Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is complicated, especially when your small business or professional practice is involved. At Cordell & Cordell, we understand that these assets raise unique valuation and allocation issues. For 35 years, we've helped doctors, lawyers, and small business owners navigate divorce with confidence. Call us at Cordell & Cordell. Let me tell you, I understand on a personal level, your business is much more than a job. It's your legacy. Visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
They're taking care of beerness in Memphis, right on the river with Grind City Brewing and all of their great products. Look, this was a dream come true for a father and son duo. And if you have not been to that brewery right on the river, just to the north of downtown, you're really missing something special. And now you can't miss their product. Wherever you go, you see a brand new label. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's distinctive. You'll know Grind City Brewing, and of course you know their products like Poppy's Pills, that great Pilsner, or Tiger Tail, that very creative craft malt liquor. There's the new Thaddeus Amber Lager. That is absolutely a great light beer. There's the India Pale called God Hopper. It's outstanding. And then there's the Belga, the Belgian-style wheat ale. They keep bringing hits at Grind City Brewing.
This traffic report brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Good morning. A little bit crowded around the airport this morning. Still building right now through the Midtown area on 240 North at Lamar. It's looking decent right now. It's been light to moderate coming in from, let's say, Collierville on 385 Billmore Parkway, getting on the ramp there to 240. Weimer's Jewelry, your diamond engagement ring headquarters this bridal season. Stop by and see them this week and shop local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back, everybody. Mr. Versatility, Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal, in for Eli today. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers. By the way, how many years now you've been here? Couple?
2, almost. 2-year anniversary is next month.
Okay, so you went to school at Northwestern. We know Chicago weather-wise. I mean, late summer, I went there one time in August. Was so beautiful. Of course, winters are dreadful. But you were born in L.A.?
Yeah.
Have you gotten used to this heat and humidity?
No, I did.
Okay.
So I lived in Vegas for a year.
Oh, there you go.
But it's a different kind.
It's different?
It's a different kind of heat. Well, okay, I will say, people say this all the time in Vegas when you're like, oh, it's 115 degrees. And like, well, it's a dry heat, so it doesn't matter. But let me tell you, 115 degrees is 115 degrees. The thing about Vegas that you can never get over is it'll be pitch black midnight. It's 100 degrees. It never cools down. So at least here it's sort of like it's bearable at night. It's not that bad, but the humidity does add a fun aspect to it.
Last summer, I went to Penny Hardaway's golf event out in Vegas and went to the Summer League for a little bit. So, hot as hell. But we're out on the golf course. Again, you got to drink a lot of fluids. I'm not soaking wet walking. Like, I come here to go, like, if I go play golf, I'm soaking wet in my car with air conditioning,
yeah.
walking out to pick up my clubs to go to the course. I mean, although Friday we got a reprieve. I don't know what happened Friday. I played golf, but it was great for what it normally is. And then it came right back on Saturday, and Sunday was just really, really bad. All right. You wrote about it. We've talked a lot about it. Obviously, we lost a legend, maybe arguably the most important Memphian ever, even though not born here, but decided to put his company here, rear his family here. That's Fred Smith.
Yeah.
We know how important he is to the University of Memphis. Do you think there's any drop-off? You've got Richard, of course, and the family, and they're still very much in tune with the University of Memphis. Do you think that just continues, that support that the Smith family has always given the University of Memphis athletics?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything immediate to change. I think, like you said, I mean, obviously you guys have talked about it. It's you can go through pretty much any industry or specific thing in Memphis and talk about the impact that Fred Smith had on it, and it's monumental, right? And we know with Tigers and with the whole university, really, but especially specifically with Tigers athletics, huge. I mean, we were just at that event a couple weeks ago for the stadium that people forget, like that whole deal, remember, for the stadium was really complicated. And there was kind of like a standstill in terms of where the money was going to come from to renovate the stadium with that state money that the city was trying to figure out how to allocate. And it was dragging on and people were starting to get concerned. And then Fred Smith and his family came in, made that deal basically to donate $50 million. And that unlocked not only the whole deal for the Tigers for Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, but helped kind of funnel the rest of the money towards FedEx Forum is what is expected. So like that just happened. Like, we can talk about names on buildings and stadiums and stuff, but that's recent, and it's just obviously just had a huge impact on so many things, and you can anytime you look at any building or anything, you're going to see FedEx, you're going to see the Smith name.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That when Fred wanted something done, it got done. When he got behind something, it got done. We have a lot of projects in this city that are at like a standstill.
Yeah.
Like I still don't know what's going on with the Grizzlies and the renovations and all that stuff like that. FedEx Park. Are they building it? Are they not building it? The weeds come, the weeds go. They cleared it all out. But the stadium is being built. The Eliza Fletcher soccer is going to be built. The money's there. I mean, these things, and again, somehow, some way, there's always that connection, maybe some projects more than others, to the Smith family, to FedEx.
The Grizzlies coming to Memphis, like, let's not even
something
like that, right? Yeah,
yes.
FedEx Forum. Like,
exactly. Oh, no, we can sit here all day and tell about all the great things, but it was a great, great loss. But again, I think you're right. I think that will continue, hopefully forever, to have that type of backing of the Smith family with the University of Memphis. Speaking of Memphis athletics, we just talked about in our last segment about the situation they're in, where it's not the greatest, but it's not the worst, because they are in a pretty good position as far as revenue sharing, NIL money, just money. It's not going to be the $20.5 million right now, which is the max this year for schools to spend on rev sharing and the power conferences. They'll spend that kind of money. But Memphis is going to spend good money. Where does it compare to the other American Conference schools? And then with the money come the expectations. What should the expectations be for football and for men's basketball on a yearly basis while they're in this position?
Yeah, well, they should have more money than any other team in the conference. Now, what we could see with revenue sharing is money being divided uneven. Well, we will see money being divided unevenly between sports, obviously. And you could see some schools that decide, let's put a lot of money into this program, or let's put less money into this one because we want to go all in. For example, in the conference, right, UTSA for baseball just went to a super regional. Maybe they say, let's go all in on baseball. They're spending more money there than other places. That would be interesting given Jeff Traylor's quips about NIL money. So we'll see how that ends up with their football program. Another example of a team that has a lot of room for growth. But Memphis, and you look at like roster, like Memphis has more talent on their roster in football and in men's basketball than any of these teams. And now they certainly have good recruiters and they've been successful, and that's part of it. But also they have more money than these other schools. Now for football, I think there's a couple schools that could invest more. Like USF, South Florida, is investing a lot of money. They're building a new stadium. And that's going to be a big deal, and that obviously helps with recruiting and things like that. And then obviously Tulane has consistently been good. And if they can hold on to John Summerall long term, I think is recruiting at a really high level. And there are a couple other teams that I think are improving too. But in terms of money, that's where it is. And so the expectations are you should be competing at the top of the conference every year. Like men's basketball, certainly, obviously coming off winning 2 conference championships. For football, I don't think there should be a down year. I know there's been a lot of rebuilding this year, obviously, in terms of the players that they lost. And so nationally and even within the conference, you have expectations that are going to be lower because people don't see players that they know. They don't see returning production. But if you look at talent, Memphis has the talent to be able to win this conference and maybe should win the conference. I don't know that the Tigers will get picked to win in preseason, like when we look at preseason polls or stuff like that. And certainly the kind of hype nationally is less than it was last year because especially at the group of 5 level, returning production is so important for people in terms of who they value as the top contenders. But this is a program now with where it's positioned in this conference and in the group of 5 that the expectation should be you should be competing for a conference championship every year and probably should be maybe the favorite most years.
Yeah, but the reality also is that Memphis is looking at it in both the big sports to have that success continually, right? Even though they may have the most money, doesn't always equate to success, but it has been. Memphis has been consistently good in football now for a number of years because there were a lot of lean years. And basketball, obviously, they always have a chance. They always have a chance in basketball, and the last couple of years have been really good. But look at the rest of the schools in the American, in the group of, even some of the power conference schools where they're really good in the one sport and they're not so good in the other. And I'm talking about, again, the lucrative money-making sports of football and men's basketball. That's a lot of pressure, too. I mean, Tulane, you don't look at it like that. You don't look at it. I mean, they would love to be really good in both, but who has been consistently good in both those sports as long as Memphis has been?
At the group of 5 level?
Yes.
I mean, there's basically nobody. I mean, Boise State has been pretty solid in men's basketball.
Right, solid. But Memphis has been the top, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, you look at Memphis, obviously basketball. We know Memphis is a basketball town, and we know that the Tigers have had a really long period of success and a period of competing on a national stage in terms of men's basketball. And then football obviously is more recent. You look at the past decade, like you said, consistently one of the team that always makes it to a bowl game and is always up there and has not had down years and stuff like that, which is really impressive because the amount of teams that bottom out for at least 1 year, look at Florida State last year, it's a lot. It's really hard to do that. And so that's impressive. And I don't know that there is another team in the group of 5 that does it at that level, and I think that's why people want more, right? They want a power conference, they want more wins, they want NCAA tournament wins, they want for football AAC tournament, AAC championships, AAC championship game appearances, right? That's the thing that people kind of will keep pointing to, and certainly like other fans, Memphis fans are saying we want to get out of this conference. You always see on Twitter like fans of the other AAC team saying, well, why don't you just make it to the conference championship game for football?
Yeah.
Then you can go somewhere else, which would be fun if it was like a play-in or something. Like to get to the Big 12, you have to win your conference or something. That would be a fun little.
That would be
caveat.
really cool.
Hey, if you win the AAC this year, then you can go to the Big 12. Like that would be something.
You have a story that's going to drop here soon at the CA about the group of 5 football programs that have a legitimate chance to be that representative in the playoff.
Yeah, should be tomorrow. Hopefully, it's interesting looking at it because last year when I did it, I did this around the same time and kind of who are the top contenders. And Boise State was number 1, so we got that one. But
how high did you have Memphis last year?
But I think I had Memphis, I want to say 2. So last year, when you looked at it and you kind of like compiled everybody's predictions, you had Boise State and Memphis as kind of the 2 clear favorites. And certainly people were picking other teams and stuff. But those were the teams that were getting talked about the most. And when you would look at like a panel and it was like 5 people choosing their team, it would be Boise State, Memphis, Boise State, something like that. This year, I don't see a lot of Memphis, and not a lot of these predictions have come out yet. But just kind of looking at the landscape and looking at how people are talking about the AAC and stuff like that,
because it's all new players.
Yeah, part of it is new players. So you look at consistent returning production, and I think it's really important if you are a group of 5 team and you were good and you brought back your quarterback, that gives you a huge leg up over everybody else in terms of perception.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Boise State lost Ashton Genty, but they brought back their quarterback in Maddox Madsen, and that's a huge deal. And Boise State, like a lot of people nationally are going to say, well, they had this prodigious running back, and now we don't need to think about them anymore. Like that team is going to be really good again this year. Their defense brought back a lot of pieces, and again they brought back their quarterback. So Boise State, I think, is going to be pretty much a unanimous favorite to be that top team. after that, it's interesting because to me, like UNLV is a really interesting team, and I think you could make the case for them to be the next most likely team. If obviously they would have to get past Boise State, they played them in the regular
Now,
season.
Dan Mullen coaching them.
Dan Mullen, they brought back. They've got a really interesting quarterback situation. They brought in a transfer from Michigan, Alex Orji, and then a transfer from Virginia, Anthony Calandria. Both guys who started games, I believe, at the Power Conference level and are competing for a spot. And he's done a really good job in the transfer portal. So that's a team. And then after that, it's kind of about the AAC. And in the AAC, even when you do who's going to win the AAC, man, you can make a case for a lot of different teams. It's yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think? I'm not going to ask you who you're going to pick, and maybe you don't even know yet. Where do you think Memphis will be picked by the media come media days in Charlotte? They moved it. Where do you think they'd be picked? And then if they had Seth Hennigan, where do you think they would be picked?
If they had Seth Hennigan, I think they'd be picked number one. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so they
because
have no
again,
faith that a guy who started 30-something games in Brendan Lewis can walk in and do the job.
I just think when people look at this, especially when I talk to people, it's always about returning quarterbacks. Most teams, if you're a Group of 5 team, right, and you have a successful season and you have a good quarterback, the quarterback leaves and he goes and plays for a Power Conference team. Like that's just usually what happens. And look at Tulane, right? Look at Darian Mensah. That's what happened. Got paid a lot of money. A lot of teams that you're going to watch at the Power Conference level, they found their quarterback from somebody who played well, and that's kind of the situation we live in now with the transfer portal. It is a really interesting question. To me, it's like I think Tulane will get picked to win the conference because people trust John Sumrall, and because that team still looks like in the trenches, it's going to be the most powerful team in the conference. And push comes to shove, people believe in that, especially when they don't look at all the stuff super closely. The question is, where do you put Army and Navy? Because Navy, I think I've talked to some people who said 100% Navy is the pick to win the conference.
They got their quarterback.
Got the quarterback back, right? And probably one of the top quarterbacks. I mean, you can make the case as the top returning quarterback in the conference. So that's another one. And then there's other teams that you can make a case for UTSA. You can make a case for South Florida, I think. Again, quarterbacks coming back. Last year, Memphis was the one team that had their quarterback coming back and who was healthy. This year, Memphis is the one team that doesn't. Army obviously too, but really interesting.
More of a challenge in football for Memphis than it should be in basketball. There's a lot of teams that, not a lot, but there are some that certainly should be right there, whereas basketball is a mess. That's why Mike Tranghese was hired by Tim Pernetti to try to see if they could fix that, but we'll save that for another day. It's Memphis and everybody else. Real quick, what did you think of the decision for the Big 12 not to have a media poll?
Yeah, it seemed like they were I felt the media members are the ones who picked Arizona State to be last in the conference. Yeah. And so now they're getting rid of it. So they missed. Who blew
cares?
it. The media members blew it. How dare they? Don't do that to Kenny Dillingham.
How dare they get it wrong? That's unbelievable. Hey, real quick, NFL news that's breaking. The Dolphins and Steelers have finalized a trade. All-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey headed to Pittsburgh. Adjusted contract includes a $1.5 million raise, makes his salary $26.6 million this year. So Jalen Ramsey on his way to Pittsburgh.
With all the Memphis Tigers on the
With
Steelers.
all the Memphis Tigers and Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. All right, we're going to talk Grizzlies with Jonah Dillon when we come back for our final segment. I do want to talk Corky's right now. If you're looking for delicious slow-smoked barbecue, man, there's some great options in Memphis. Corky's is right there at the top. They have specialized in that slow-smoked barbecue for 40 years, and they've catered that entire time as well. You got an event coming up, no matter how big, get it catered by Corky's. Got a big old party coming up at the Commercial Appeal, get it catered by Corky's. When you head over for lunch or for dinner, add a third of a rack of ribs for just $7.99 when you purchase your entree. Lunch specials every day, party packs that start at just $7.49. Located at Poplar Avenue in East Memphis, Poplar Avenue in Collierville, Germantown Parkway in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. While you're there, pick up a couple of Corky's gift cards. Give them out as presents, birthday presents, whatever the case may be. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM. Welcome back, everybody. Final segment here on this Monday edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers, Eli is off. Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal has been sitting in studio for this third hour. We've talked about a number of things, and we're going to get to the Grizzlies now. This is another hat you wear in helping the Commercial Appeal, and DeMichael Cole, who's on our show every week, cover the Grizzlies. So moves have been made. Things still to happen. Obviously, priorities. Jaren Jackson Jr., looks like Santi Aldama. What else do you think they will do? Because we know there are some needs. Three-point shooting is not there in the abundancy they need to compete, in my opinion, in the league. It does not look like they'll re-sign Luke Kennard. They got to figure out the big situation with Zach Edey on the mend. What are you expecting?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously another move on the margins, right? Because you need some depth at center, especially Brandon Clark is coming off an injury, and then you've got Zach Edey we know is going to miss some time at the start of the season. I know when the Bane trade was made, it was kind of like, okay, now you've got these 4 first-round picks. Maybe it's time for a blockbuster trade. It doesn't seem like that's happening. Obviously, you never know, and the Grizzlies like to work in the shadows, obviously. So, like the Bane trade kind of just happened. So we could see that. It just feels like there's not going to be a major move, and I think if you read into what Zach Kleiman said after the draft, it feels like he's it's not a rebuild. It's, I guess, a retool. I don't know the term you would use around John Moran and Jaren Jackson Jr., right? Like when he said John and Jaren are not old. To me, that meant like we can rebuild this team around these guys without bottoming out. Because you think about rebuild, you think about like a tank, right? I think he was saying we can retool this team with young players. And that is kind of seems like why Cedric Howard was the pick, is because he feels like that's a high upside player that could be part of a core in the future, and he'd be part of a core that includes Ja and Jaren and not a rebuilding type of situation.
Yeah.
So it feels like he could. Now it's like there's not going to be a huge blockbuster trade of let's push all our chips in or trade all our assets for a star or whatever it is. And it's going to be like, let's try to build this new team around the guys we have now.
Let me say this. I agree with you. It is not. It's a retool. Okay, they didn't blow up the team. They made one trade that was significant, but they made that trade for the assets that they brought in. They really can't afford to have a non-playoff season or once again be deep in the play-in and get eliminated early. Fans want to be bought in. They don't want to lose interest. You cannot afford in this market to lose interest. I'm not saying that happens, but when you are noticeably taking a little bit of, and Zach said this, take a step back to move forward, that does seem like it's unless there's a move that's going to be made that's going to surprise us all, it does seem like it's a step back for the time being, which may mean the entire season, because other teams around them are either already better than them or about to be better than them.
Yeah, and also like you traded Desmond Bain, and essentially it looks like if the season started right now, in the starting lineup you'd have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope instead of him, right? And so you've taken a big step back offensively. There's no question. Obviously, maybe you're improved defensively. Nobody is sitting here and saying that that's a competing team, right? Because it wasn't a competing team anyways when you had Bain before. Competing at the highest level of the Western Conference. So even if I see people talking about like moves on the margins, like free agent signings, who can you get for the mid-level exception, things like that. Like people are talking about Ty Jerome or like Nikhil Alexander-Walker, players like that. Those guys are good players. They would help teams. That's not a move.
Doesn't take over the top.
Right. And so what are you trying to do as a team? Now, I think it's an interesting position because there's this idea in the NBA over the past couple of years of like either you have to be all the way in or all the way out, right? You should just tank, bottom out, like look at the Thunder, right? They bottomed out completely. When they if you look at when they started their rebuilds, the first year when they had SGA, Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, that team, they tried to bottom out and they were too good. So they traded everybody to make sure that they went all the way to the bottom and then rebuilt from the ground up with the draft picks. And so you don't see a lot of teams that say, let's still be competitive around a couple of stars, and you kind of see what Phoenix is doing, right? It seems like Phoenix is in the same position, right? Where like they don't seem like they want to bottom out completely, but what is the path to getting better and to drastic improvement with the team they have now? And so I wonder if this is the roster throughout the season and what fans think if this is like a middling team throughout most of the year.
Well, a lot of people, and look, I said this earlier in hour one. Drew Hill was also on with us. I talked about the injury factor. It has been a factor. It's been a factor for years now. And that becomes a major issue for everybody. We already are looking at Indiana without Halliburton, Boston without Tatum, Milwaukee without Lillard going into the season. What are their prospects? But the thing I wonder about is a healthy job for the bulk of the games, which I'll believe it when I see it. A healthy Jaren Jackson Jr., who's been pretty healthy. Zach Edey, healthy. All these guys healthy. I still don't know where they are. I still look at this team and going, who's shooting the ball from the outside? KCP had a bad shooting for him, had a bad shooting year. Hopefully he gets back to his old self. That would help out. Is Ja going to jack up more threes? Nobody wants to see that, right? Dez is gone. Kennard doesn't appear to be coming back. Santi could shoot a three. Can't play a lick of man-to-man defense, but he could shoot. There's just not enough. Yeah, Jaren's going to step outside and shoot threes and not get rebound. I'm looking at the big picture. I've been saying this for years, and like people getting pissed when they hear that. I go, oh, the window's wide open. This team's going to have multiple Western Conference. No, man. I can see this. I see what those other teams have. I see the killer instinct in some of these other teams. The dog. We always talk about the dog, the grit and grind here in Memphis. We haven't seen that. We have guys injured that can't play through injuries. So even if it's all healthy, I don't even know if that's top six.
No, I think what you touched on there is like there needs to be a path towards offensive improvement. I think that they've taken some steps towards defensive improvement. There needs to be a path towards offensive improvement, and it feels like the path.
Wait, can I interrupt? They've taken steps on defensive improvement.
Well,
by drafting a kid with 6 games of experience.
No. KCP. I think KCP he's a better defender than Bain. So starting lineup, you're going from Bain to KCP.
I thought you were referring to these 2 like late second round guys, and I'm like, okay.
Well, look, Jemai Mashack, that's basically what he does.
Yes, but I mean, come on. If they're relying on Mr. Irrelevant in basketball, we're in trouble.
No, I'm just saying KCP for Bain. If you're just saying starting lineup, you remove Bain, you add a KCP.
That's a good point.
Better defender. But you need to see a path towards a long-term offensive improvement. And so, again, what I heard from Zach Kleiman the other day is right now the ideal situation is that somebody takes a huge step in terms of offensive improvement, and the options would be Jalen Wells, maybe Gigi Jackson, although that ship to some people I think has already sailed, and then Cedric Howard would be another one who some people would say they drafted on potential. Now,
I thought Wells overachieved.
No, I'm saying, but what is the next step? That's a big question this season for Jalen Wells. How does he follow up that season, right? So he overachieved, obviously, especially on defense, because you remember when Jalen Wells, like last offseason, it was not like, oh, this guy's a great defender. He's going to hound the best player on the other team. That was not what he was supposed to be.
Right.
Then he became that incredible defender.
He had a terrific first year.
You talk to some people around Jalen Wells' camp, and they say, like, this guy has a lot of room to improve offensively. He can be like a legitimate scorer. And if he can do that, then suddenly you're talking about those types of things. So I think that's what their ideal is.
Okay, and I like him. I like him a lot. They have struck gold pretty much in the second round, so who knows? Maybe those 2 second-rounders will be impact players in the future. All right, final minute. Give me a prediction of some sort. Don't tell me they're going to re-sign Jaren Jackson Jr. or Santi, because those things look to be what they want to get done. Give me something. Give me something. Is there a player that they'll use the floor exception on? Is there a vet that they'll bring in? Give me something that may happen.
You're putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
I think they'll bring in a center. I think they'll bring in a maybe someone who's not just someone who beyond Marvin Bagley, like somebody
like that Sharp guy that they're talking about now.
Maybe the Nets have cap space, so it's going to be tough. But I think they'll bring in a center, because not only do they need someone at the beginning of the season, I think they need depth, because you're looking at Edey and Brandon Clark injury problems in the past, and so I think somebody will come in who can play at that position.
Just sign Dwight Howard from the Big Three. Steal him from Ice Cube.
That's an option right there.
Steal him from Ice Cube.
Can Marc Gasol play anymore?
How much could he make at the Big Three? Just bring in Dwight Howard. Jonah, it's been fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
really
thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it. That is Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at the Jonah Dillon. And again, your story on the Group of 5 football teams will be coming out when?
Tomorrow morning. Look for it.
Look for it. Be there. Aloha. That's going to do it for us today. I am back tomorrow. Eli off this week, but it'll be myself and Elijah. Some of our guests tomorrow will talk SEC football with Connor O'Gara. More on the Grizzlies with Joe Mullinax. We got our golf segment as well with Mickey Barker. The latest from what will be a busy night tonight with NBA free agency. Our thanks to both Jonah Dillon and Drew Hill for joining us on the show. Wallow and Friends on Sports 56 is next. Once again, the Nomad, Dave Woloshin, on the road. That means Brian Dacus, who wears 30 hats around here, will be co-hosting with Elijah Seegers. Stay tuned for that. We will talk to you again bright and early tomorrow at 7 a.m. for the vacationing Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers, my buddy Jonah Dillon. I'm Greg Gaston. Have a great day, everybody.